play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets. There he is, everybody. Welcome to Green Beans Thursday. Thick of it, I am in such a good mood. I really am. You guys know why, but I'll tell you nonetheless. This is the 1 week marker. 1 week from right now, we will have already heard the NFL draft of 2022 is underway. We would have already been 3 minutes into this draft. And that, my friends, is good news. I can't wait. I have to admit, this year, I never get tired of mocks and players and everything, but I think I could really be happy if it was today. You know what I'm saying? I think we dug in a little deeper this year than even other years, but I'm ready, man. This next 6 days after tonight is going to be difficult. Let's say it that way. So I have so much to discuss with you guys tonight. We're going to dig into some Vinny Curry action, some Becton stuff. We are also going to deconstruct the press conference from our general manager and assistant general manager, Joe Douglas and Rex Hogan, respectively. We're going to get into what they said and what it could mean. But before I do, I would be bored, quite frankly, hearing myself all night. So I'm going to bring on the host with the toast. Let's say hello to Frankie from Flatbush.
With the fourth pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Vernon Gholston.
What? Yeah! He's going to take over the league, Frankie.
He's an athletic freak. He can do it all. He can jump. He can broad jump. He has big hands. He has a big wingspan. He doesn't know how to play football, but that's okay. We'll teach him. We can teach him. We can teach him. He's an athlete. We got him.
We'll do the same thing with Stephen Hill. I mean, just look at his measurables, Frankie. Look at him.
He's got a wingspan. He can do this.
Oh, we can teach him. I love it. How you doing tonight, Frankie? What's going on?
I am excellent because we got one more week. 1 week to go. It's been and this is, I told somebody, this is like our Super Bowl. This is the Jets Super Bowl. The draft, we get to dream. We get to dream on all these people. Nobody's injured right now.
That's right.
We can believe we're going to have our whole complement of players, and we can dream that maybe this is the year that we do not go gentle into that good night.
Into that good night. I like that. But you know what, Frankie? I have to just disagree a little tiny bit. We do have some injuries. Little tiny ones. They're getting better. But a couple guys are injured, but we're working on it. Well, isn't Becton is still considered injured, and which we have a bunch to talk about with that guy. You know, I think today we can classify as another overreaction day. What do you think? Have you seen it?
Oh, yes. Total overreaction. And again, that guy, I call him Country Club Connor, once again lying. I can prove that he's lying about Mekhi now. I have the videos. I have the proof. I can prove it on an Etch-a-Sketch. I can do it, and I can prove it with Denzel Mims. I show you on the film. And then Country Club Connor now is lying about Mekhi. And I can prove it if you'd like.
Now, I want to take a minute. I was hoping to be able to get into that video a little bit, but I want to just commend you, number one, and I want to implore the chat, who I'm about to say hello to, by the way. I see some comments I want to at least acknowledge. Frankie put out this week's Tuesday Newsday. If you guys aren't familiar with Frankie's schedule, that would be okay because he's still all over the place. But he does have some things that are getting to be consistent. He's got the coffee shop thing. He's got the Monday mayhem or whatever. But the Tuesday Newsday has been around for a little bit now, and it is excellent. One of my favorite things to watch. But this week's in particular, I think it was this week, right, Frankie, where you did the Connor Huge, and the term Country Club Connor was sort of developed on that show. And even by the end of it, it was completely fleshed out. It was beautiful. But if you guys haven't seen that episode, After the stream, take a minute. It's actually about 20 minutes, but take a few minutes and go over to Frankie from Flatbush's channel and watch this week's Tuesday Newsday. And when you want to talk about the things that we've discussed on here all the time, a lot of Jets fans, we read the papers, we look online, and we see these concerning tidbits, and we can't help but have questions. And some of us freak out, and, varying degrees of response from us. But what Frankie did was he took actual facts. So he took what was said and took actual facts and compared them with visual evidence. So you could see exactly what it is that we've been saying for a while, which is they make stuff up for clicks, guys. And that's what they're doing. So when they get us all upset and then we formulate these opinions, it's like a lot of it's not even founded. They take a little bit of truth and they make it into a whole thing. And Frankie does an excellent job. Maybe later in the show, Frankie, we will maybe even use some of it and try to squeeze it in here and give a little bit of whetting of the appetite tonight. But yeah, man, so you just quickly, you're saying now that you have proof that Connor Hughes is lying, straight up lying about Mekhi Becton. Give me the nugget.
Well, yeah, he said in his tweet, he said, there is no reason for Mekhi Becton to miss OTAs. No reason, he says. Why? I can give you 3 reasons, and this is very easy to understand. And I'm not a reporter. I have no sources. I'm a guy here with a microphone, a webcam, and an apartment in Pittsburgh, and I can prove Connor Hughes is wrong. There's 3 reasons why Mekhi is missing OTAs. Number 1, they're voluntary. No one has to show up, and he's a veteran. So he doesn't have to show up. That's reason number 1. Number 2, his girlfriend is pregnant right now. And I think she's about 7 months pregnant. So he's staying with her, to be with her while she's in her late stage pregnancy. How do I know that? And Connor Hughes doesn't. I don't know. Maybe because I follow Mekhi Becton's Instagram. Very easy. And then 3, he's working out with the best offensive line trainer in the world, Duke Manyweather, down in Texas. And he has a workout program and a rehab program that's been certified and sanctified by the Jets and approved and all that. And the Jets said, yep, keep doing that. That's perfect. That's beautiful. We agree. And why would you interrupt that in the middle just to go to meetings and work out in the Jets facility when you could work out with Duke Manyweather in Texas and stay with your pregnant girlfriend when the OTAs are voluntary? So there's 3 reasons. And in his tweet, he says, there's no reason. I just gave you 3.
Yeah, there you go. Well done, Frankie. And that's the thing, guys. Look, why would Connor Hughes be motivated to do that? Why would he? Because he knows it's going to be a subsequent shitstorm, even if it's just people checking into it. Hey, what does this mean? Whatever. He knows that. And that's what he's doing. He's actually consciously and purposely trying to get you, our brothers and sisters, upset so he can be viewed as a success from his overlords. And that's quite frankly, a whole bunch of bullshit. So, yeah, man. And we'll talk a little bit more about Mekhi Becton. I don't want to get too far into the show without acknowledging a few things. One is Matthias Simon, my old buddy. He says the Jets are the champion of the off season. And just like Frankie just said earlier, this is about as good as it gets, man. Going into the draft, we are the kings. We have 2 top 10 picks. We have 4 top 40 picks. Yes. Who's in a better spot than us? You know what I mean? It's like we rule the roost. And so enjoy it, Jets fans. Don't let the stress come in. Like Matthias said, this is our time to rule. This is our time to be the champions. Now, B2B asked, where is it? I'm looking for the comment. I don't know if I can find it, but B2B said, hey, what happened with the private mock last night? As you guys know, we have the Beanbaggers, which is my Patreon, and we got together last night and we had a Zoom meeting with all of our faces on there, and we talked and deconstructed every single pick. And let me tell you, we came up with a draft with voting democratically that was so friggin' good that it would quite literally be the greatest draft in New York Jets history. And guys, I'm going to show you that draft a little bit later in the show. It was spectacular. I don't think any of you, and this is saying a lot, I don't think any of you, when you look at it as a whole, would say that's a bad draft. Now, you might not see the position that you want in the certain space that you want, but aside from that, we nailed it. And I'll show you guys that later. Want to say hello to Hank and AC and Drupacabra. Drupacabra is planning to talk about one thing all night, Frankie. I don't know if you know what that is. Are you aware of what Drupacabra's deal is these days?
No.
All right. All he wants to do is hear us say, we are going to pick a wide receiver at 10. He doesn't want anything else. He can't talk about anything else. It's impossible for him to hear anything else. And not that he's wrong, right? It's just that that's all he wants to talk about. If you talk about anything else, he'll make fun of you and call you old, fat, ugly. He does all those things. That's Drupacabra. Harlan Abraham is here. Harry is here. Jets Forever is back. Duncan McLean, Kyle Ornsby, Bismo Charismo coming to us from the future. As we know, he's down there in Australia. And we're happy to have you here, buddy. Steve is here. Stud City is back. The main catch, Jets indeed, buddy. Jets Knight is here. Alan W. Jerome Strax. Gary B. Gary B. was in here chatting with me about, what was that, Gary? 3 hours ago? I just checked in to check on a few things, and Gary was in here. I said, hey, what's happening, Gary? So Isaac is here. In the words of the great Bart Scott, can't wait for the draft. And so many more of you guys are here, obviously. Dark Soldier, Patrick Zanelli, Hawk is back. And I just love having you guys here. You're the best. And we're going to get into some very specific stuff. But before we do, Johnny Myrahal, I got to be getting better, Johnny. He says, he checks in with a super chat and says, sup, boys? What's up with you, Johnny? How you doing tonight, buddy? It's good to have you here as well. So, guys, we have some pre-planned topics that we want to discuss. But as always, if you want to get something across, you want us to answer something, we try our best to scan the chat. It's very, very difficult. I want you to know that Jeremy from NFL Chaos with Jeremy is in the background trying to help me out, make sure I don't miss any of the more important subjects, and especially super chats. You guys know the system. Super chats will give you the skip the line pass. We will absolutely make sure that if you give us super chat, we will make sure to acknowledge it. But just before we do the next one, Joshua McMillan wants us to know Bart Scott blows. That's very, very important, Frankie, as well. So just put your stuff in the chat and we'll do our best to acknowledge it and talk about it as well. Now, Mitch, thank you for the super chat. He says, Green, keep being you, bro. Thoughts on safety signing today and what you think it means for the draft with 5 safeties currently on the roster. Well, so what was his name, Frank? I had it written down here. Do you know the guy that we signed today? He's kind of a hybrid linebacker safety, right?
Yeah, his Marcel Harris.
Marcel Harris.
So he's going to be basically, the way I see it, he's basically an upgrade on Del'Shawn Phillips. So if anybody was concerned about Del'Shawn Phillips's spot on the roster, you should be a little more concerned now. So he's just a depth guy. He plays safety, he plays linebacker, he plays that hybrid role. And this is something that we see Saleh wanting to do. He likes the safety linebacker, kind of a guy. And I think that's a trend in the league where you have a guy who can cover like a safety but hit like a linebacker. So that seems to be something that Saleh likes. This is a guy like that, but he's not, he's not going to be a starter. He's going to be on special teams. Probably he's going to be a fill-in guy, maybe a sub packages guy, but he's not going to have anything to do with the draft at all, I would say.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, I think right now what we're seeing is them bringing in some guys that they're going to give an opportunity to fill out the bottom of the roster. Like, that's what I think. I don't think this guy is going to make drafting a safety, fly off the table. In truth, Frankie, and I'd like to hear your thought, I think it's pretty damn positive that we will come out of this draft with at least one safety, because it's known to be probably the strongest safety class we've seen in a decade or more. So I would think that they're going to want to bring somebody in, because we talk about the safeties on our roster. The truth is, all we really have is Jordan Whitehead, an injured LaMarcus Joyner. Supposedly he's healed and all that, but we saw last year he gave us quite literally nothing. and Ashton Davis. We do have Elijah Riley. We have Wild Goose and some other guys, but I don't think we really have a stocked safety position, especially at free safety. What do you think? You think we're going to end up drafting one no matter the signing?
I do think so. And I do think you're forgetting my man, Jason Pinnock. I will not let you forget Jason Pinnock is on this roster.
Thank you, sir.
And he is a free safety. He is considering himself a safety. And I watch Jason Pinnock's YouTube channel. So anybody who wants to see what Jason Pinnock is up to, he has his own YouTube channel. You can see what he's up to. He's out in Cabo hanging with his boys. And but anyway, on the video, he refers to himself as safety. So he's not anymore a cornerback. He is a safety, but you can't count on him for anything. Obviously, he's transitioning to a new position. We have no idea what he can be. But so I think that, so I have high hopes for Pinnock, but they're just hopes. You can't pin your strategy on hopes. So you have to, I think one thing to do is think about these hybrid roles. So when you have a guy like this is a strong safety / linebacker hybrid role. Then on the other side, you have another hybrid role called the free safety / nickel corner role. So they're two different roles. You need to be obviously a better hitter. One, you need to be a better cover guy. So, and you need to do a bit of both for the position. But I think that Saleh likes these hybrid guys on both sides, where you have a free safety type of guy who can also be a corner, be a slot, a nickel corner, slot corner. It can do both of that and kind of disguise and hide who you are, what you're doing, who you're covering, so we can play multiple and disguise what we're doing. And then you have the other side of it where you have the strong safety type who can also be considered a linebacker and sometimes play in the box and sometimes not in the box. And we saw that last year at the end of the year with Elijah Riley. We were trying it. Elijah Riley's in that role, whereas Jason Pinnock's the other role. So although they're both safeties, they're different. They're a little bit different. So Pinnock is a guy who's more of a free safety slot corner type, whereas Riley's more of the strong safety box linebacker type. But those guys in quality are both backups. And so probably. So in terms of the draft, I think we're going to use one of our 4 picks in the first 2 rounds on a safety like Dax Hill. If we don't get a guy like Kyle Hamilton, if we don't go big time in terms of safety, then we'd probably get a guy like Dax Hill or Jaquan Brisker or Lewis Seen or Jalen Petrie, that type of guy. Petrie's more of a hitter than a cover guy, but one of those types, in round 2 or 3, or, Kirby Joseph is another option. So one of those type of guys I would see us definitely taking, and LaMarcus Joyner is there as a guy who can play and he can start if you really need him to, but you really don't want to. You want him to be a backup.
Yeah. Well, really well said. They're trying to mix up a bunch of things. But again, I don't think guys like this signing or Wild Goose or Elijah Riley, who they like, I don't think any of those guys prohibit you from seeing an opportunity to grab a stud muffin that you think can be really versatile and impactful in your system. I don't think that any of these guys would stop you if you had a safety as the best player on the board at the time. So, and I think that they're going to. The safety class is strong. I mean, there's a lot of exciting players in this class. And, it's funny, Frankie, you brought up maybe going big with Kyle Hamilton. We've all kind of quieted down on that, but I still have a whole bunch of hope that we would get like think about coming away in the first round with like an Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau, and then a Kyle Hamilton at 10. I would love that just because I like the players, but I think at this point I would like it more just so I can stand back and observe the fucking meltdown. You know what I mean? Like that would be, not that I want anybody to be unhappy, Frankie, but that would be fireworks.
It would be, but don't forget, at 35, you can still get a really good receiver.
That's what I'm saying.
You can get an Alec Pierce. You can get maybe a Christian Watson. There's a lot of Watkins and Watsons. It's hard to keep track. Christian Watson.
Yeah. And Williamses and everything else.
All the Williamses and the Wilsons. So even if you don't get the top tier, there's so many good wide receivers. Sky Moore. There's so many good
Dotson.
Jahan Dotson might slip. So if you wanted to go defense in the first round, you could still get a really good receiver with the 35th pick and still be fine. So you could look at it like we need the edge, premier edge guy to rush. We need the premier safety Hamilton to cover. And then at 35, we can still get a big improvement for our wide receiver room. And by the way, you can still go in the 4th round and get another one, or the 3rd round and get another one, and get a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, or, Bo Melton, or somebody of that, Tyquan Thornton, or somebody of that nature as a backup. So you can still stock the room,
Absolutely. Before I get to this super chat from Jay-Z Jet fan, I do want to acknowledge and say hello to Ali from Loyal New York Jets fans. What's up, buddy? It's good to see you. I hope you're excited for the draft coming up. I know you are. He'll be one of our guests on the Talking Jets panel. Draft coverage, the super live stream for 3 straight days over at Jets Talk 24/7. I'm excited to see you over there, bud. And thank you for popping in. It's always good to see Ali. He's one of those good guys. You know what I mean? He's one of those sincere, good dudes. Remember, he actually got to cover the Senior Bowl this year. He was down there in Mobile and checked in with us, and we got to hang out with him. That was a good time. So let me get back up to Jay-Z. He says, hey, great content. What do you think is the max we should give up for a number 1 receiver? So I guess you're talking about in a trade. So we have the Deebo stuff this week. This week, it's Deebo Samuel. First it was Amari Cooper. Then it was DK Metcalf. Then it was A.J. Brown. Or then it was Tyreek Hill. Then A.J. Brown. Now it's Deebo. So we're all over this Deebo thing. He has, it seems pretty officially, asked for a trade. His brother was out there on Twitter the day before saying all sorts of fun stuff about not wanting to play for the Niners and being disrespected and all that. We obviously heard about Deebo's claims that he was getting death threats and racist comments from supposed San Francisco fans. So that's not a good look. That can't feel good if you're getting death threats from your fans. So what do we think, Frankie? Now, would you want to give Deebo Samuel the same deal that we were reported to be giving for Tyreek Hill, the 35, 38, 69 deal? And before you answer that, don't forget, another little piece to this is that Deebo Samuel, supposedly one of the gripes he has is he feels like they're burning him out. He doesn't want to have, 77 receptions and 59 rushing attempts either. He doesn't want to be all things in such a way. So maybe he wants to limit his carries. So that might decrease his value. What do you think from your standpoint? What are you giving for Deebo?
Yeah, I mean, I might give him the Hill deal. I'd like to alter it and give them some players. I keep saying I'd like to keep some picks.
The Van Roten, there he is.
I mean, they need a guard. Who's going to play guard for them? Aaron Banks? I don't think so. So Van Roten's an average guard, or below average guard in the league. Give him Van Roten. They could have Ashton Davis. Would you like an Ash? They need a safety. Would you like Isaiah Dunn? I'd prefer to give them. They got to give them some picks. So 35 and 38 and some players. What about that? Because we got to pay Deebo also. Now, I don't really worry about the running back thing. I wouldn't really use him as a running back. He had 1,400 yards as a receiver last year, including 18 yards per catch. 18 yards.
Good enough, right?
Led the league. I mean, most yards per reception of anybody, and that's with noodle arm Garoppolo throwing to him. So imagine rocket arm Wilson trying to, getting him the ball outside the numbers. Good luck. And especially when you're trying to cover Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, our 2 tight ends, and Deebo, good luck. But with a guy who can actually throw the ball with a velocity. So, and hopefully this year accuracy, but that aside. So yeah, I mean, I'd want to give them something like the Tyreek package, but I'd like to substitute some players because I think we have guys that we don't need that they do. So I'd rather give them some players that they could plug into their team that we don't really need and that we could replace in the draft.
So that could, look, and if that is something that they're interested in, that could very well supplement and maybe take away some of the draft capital. But let's remember, the San Francisco 49ers gave up the most aggressive trade last year in the draft, and they used 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick to move up, half a dozen spots, whatever it was, to get quarterback Trey Lance at the 3rd pick. So that's all well and good, but let me remind everybody, it's great to get players last year, But when you start inching up closer to the draft and you're deconstructing all these players and you're looking all into this stuff and it's exciting and you don't have any picks, every single team that doesn't have picks, they want picks back right now. They want a second round pick. They want a first round pick. Now, they might be happy with Trey Lance and they might not necessarily regret the trade. But let me tell you, the excitement of the draft creeping up, they want to be in. They want some of it. So they're definitely going to want to, if Deebo's asking for a trade, I think that they would at least be happy to get some of those picks back. And I might be willing to give 35 and 69 kind of a thing for him. I mean, like Frankie said, even if he never runs the ball again, 1,400 yards. When's the last freaking guy we've had for 1,400 yards? I don't even think Brandon Marshall got that when he was here for that year. I think it was 1,200 or something along those lines. But man, that's not enough. I mean, if he says, listen, I'm never running it, maybe 10 rushes a year or something, like, fine, give us the 1,400. We'll take it. That's enough for me to want to trade for him.
You know what we'll say? We'll save that for the playoffs. You know what, Deebo? We'll save it as a secret weapon for the playoffs. When we get to the playoffs, then we'll use, we'll strategize how to use you. But otherwise, we're happy running Michael Carter and Breece Hall.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We're happy running them. We don't have any problems running those people. And you can please be a 1,400-yard receiver for us with 18 yards per catch. Thank you very much. We'll take it.
That's it. We will. And we'll take it gleefully. So I want to thank Chris2485 for the super chat. I don't see a comment there, but I do see a comment a little bit lower from you, Chris. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. He says, I'd give up the 10 for Deebo. I'd rather have Thibodeau, Deebo, Brisker, and Dean. Well, let me tell you, if that's how it ended up, if we ended up grabbing Kayvon Thibodeau, we got Deebo Samuel with 10, we got Jaquan Brisker and Nakobe Dean, I wouldn't be seen complaining. How about you, Frankie?
That's the other thing. If it's like if we're going to take a wide receiver at 10 anyway, and all it's going to take is a 10 for Deebo, and I think maybe we got to get something more. 49er fans are funny. They think they're getting 10, 35, 38, 16. But it might be 10 and Greg Van Roten for Deebo and next year's 4th or something, and I wouldn't mind that. I mean, if we're going to take a wide receiver at 10 anyway, well, we'll give up 10 for Deebo. I mean, and now you have a guy, what he is already. You don't have to hope and wish.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly my thought. And we're going to get to some comments from Joe Douglas and Rex Hogan a little bit later. And you're going to see at least a brief window into some of their thoughts about the wide receiver class this year. I think it's really interesting, and we'll talk about that. But let's say we are going to draft a wide receiver at 10. That's just the way it's going to fall. If we're going to take a shot on Drake London or Jamison Williams or whoever, why not give the 10 for a 24-year-old? He's 24, I think, maybe 25. 25 years old, let's say, wide receiver that had 800 yards his rookie season and 1,400 yards his third season. So it's not like necessarily a flash in the pan here. I mean, the guy has proven that he can give you a high output. So I wouldn't mind that either. Now, if we can get away with 35 and 69 and maybe a Greg Van Roten and we'll call Chris Herndon, get him back and send him over there, something like that. I'm totally in.
You want Trevon Wesco?
Right.
We're open for business. You want Ashton Davis? We're open for business. You want Ty Johnson? We're open for business.
Right. Well, so look, there are some comments going on right now. Like Go Hangard says he doesn't see us drafting Thibodeau. Just want to grab this. And later he says because of the character. I don't agree. I don't think Thibodeau's character is so much a concern, Go Hangard. Now, I do wonder about which exact skill set that they're hoping to bring on. If you look at who they've procured, Carl Lawson and even guys like Vinny Curry, Ronald Blair, and and all that, I think Thibodeau could fit right in with that mold. Again, Carl Lawson's kind of claim to fame was how much he disrupted the play, not so much getting the official sack numbers. And Thibodeau is very similar in that regard. It's not so much the sacks that he's getting, it's how much he's impacting the play with pressures and hurries and hits and all those kinds of things. So I think Thibodeau, I don't think the character concerns are quite as big as people are making it out to be. Now, you could disagree, that's fine. But I don't see it as such. I think if he's there, I think more than likely that's our guy. I mean, especially over like Jermaine Johnson or Trayvon Walker. I don't know. I find it hard to justify taking one of the other guys. The only guy I'd like to see, and I know this is going to bother people, if it's not Hutchinson or Tibbs, I want Karlaftis. That's my guy. I've settled there, Frankie. That's my guy. But what do you think? You think Thibodeau is a bad choice?
Well, the thing about Thibodeau is you would have to, if Thibodeau isn't for us, you would have to answer the question, why then did we interview him 3 times during the process?
Yeah.
3.
It's a good point.
And that's the most of anybody. So we interviewed him. So we're obviously interested in him, and they were obviously trying to find out something about him. I mean, there's no other reason to interview him 3 times if he's not for us. So I think he is for us, and they're trying to see if they're comfortable with some of these character issues, quote unquote. And if I had to guess, I would say they probably are comfortable with it. So, I mean, because after this, I mean, why else would you interview him 3 times if you know from watching the tape, and so forth, that, oh, he's not for us? Then you wouldn't waste your time bringing him in 3. Well, they didn't bring him in as Zoom calls. And
right. But you know what, though, Frankie, that could be looked at, just for devil's advocate, it could be looked at as they saw some things and maybe they wanted to double back and just try to see if what they saw was it could be a negative, but I don't think so. I tend to land where you're coming from here, but it could be seen as a negative too. Why did they need to meet with a guy who's clearly so talented 3 times?
Yeah, and I think that has to do with the character. I mean, one of the quotes was his personality is a lot. So maybe he's just not he's just not a typical athlete. Maybe he's, a lot of times athletes, when they're intelligent, a lot of times they get mischaracterized because they don't give the standard answers. They don't give the standard, BS answers that all the athletes give. If you give a nuanced, detailed answer, people can take that the wrong way from an athlete sometimes. And so I think that's probably what it was. It's like, is this kid a problem, or is he just like really smart and business savvy, or, or what have you? And is he just a little different? And if that's the case, I think we go for him all day. So, and I think that's probably what the case is, but clearly he at least is in the running to be for us because we talked to him 3 times. Now they may have said, now maybe they came to the conclusion after 3 times talking to him, nope, he is, I don't know what they would say. He's not, maybe they concluded he's not for us. I guess it's possible, but I don't see it that way.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with you. Kev Chada, I want to just point out, Kev is doing a really good job of pointing out extremist thinking. I want to just say that you say a couple things and people draw conclusions that are not what you're saying. So Kev Chada, I love you, buddy, but I have never, not one time, said or alluded to I want a safety and a linebacker in the first round. As a matter of fact, I don't even need to go over it again because I've never even insinuated such a thing. So back to the drawing board, Kev. Nice swing, though. Nice swing, but it is, in fact, a whiff. So the Jet Show, hey, Mr. Show, good to have you, buddy. He checks in with a super chat, Frankie, and he says, scenario, top 3 defensive ends are gone. Sauce at 4, trade back with Saints for our number 10 with our number. Okay, grab defensive tackle Jordan Davis, JFM on the edge until next draft. Ooh. So we grab Sauce at 4, trade back with the Saints for our, I don't see. Oh, so you're saying grab Jordan Davis back there at 16. I don't know, Frankie. I don't like this. I don't like going back and kind of replicating what we saw didn't work last year with JFM over there on the edge. I mean, he's a fine player, but he's not the edge rusher we're looking for. What do you think? If we stuck Jordan Davis in there alongside Quinnen and put JFM on the outside, Jordan Davis's presence would help JFM become the edge rusher, especially if Carl Lawson stays healthy?
Well, I guess I would answer this with a question. Is Jordan Davis more of a read defensive tackle or an attack defensive tackle?
He's a pass rushing defensive tackle.
Jordan Davis is?
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then he would fit our system. So I don't know. I mean, to propose a trade back, you have to have a partner for one thing. So you don't know if the Saints want to trade up. I do have a secret theory, though. Here's my
See,
secret.
well, let me ask you. Is this the kind of secret that you're willing to share with 317 people? Okay, guys, we're about to hear a secret. Now, here's the rules of secrecy. Don't tell anybody. It's key.
Well, secret in quotes.
Gotcha.
So here's what I think the Jets are doing. I think they have a board. They have a board that's one, and it's a theory with a caveat. So I think they have a board that reads like this: Hutch, KT, Sauce, Hamilton, and they say whoever's available out of those four at 4, we'll take him. If multiple are there, then we take the highest rated one. That's what I think. And with the caveat is I don't know exactly what they're thinking about in terms of Becton's health. They might be more concerned than we know about his medicals. They might think, well, I'm not sure if he's going to make it back. If that's the case, we'll know because they'll take Icky at 4.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
And then if they take Icky at 4, they're concerned about Becton.
Yep.
Okay. And that's how you'll know. But if they're not concerned about Becton, then they'll take one of those other guys and we can breathe easy about Becton because they'll be saying by their actions, we are okay with the way Becton's, rehabbing. So that's what I think. I think they have a board 1 through 4. They're happy with any one of those 4 guys, and then they'll adjust the rest of the picks based on who they take there. But I think they have a board that goes Hutch, KT, Sauce, Hamilton, and they're happy with any one of those 4 at 4.
Interesting. Well, Joe Douglas said in that presser, and it's funny because he corrected himself a little bit. He said, you have 4 players that you're excited about drafting at the pick. Then he said, or 10 players you're excited about drafting at the pick. So he said, as long as you can come away with one of those guys, you're happy to do it. So he said as much. Now he expanded it a little bit to kind of maybe not show his hand as much, that it's refined to such a degree. But I think you're correct, man. I think that they are going to be happy with, now, if they only have 2 and one guy, both of them aren't there and the guy that is there isn't really there, they're going to aggressively seek to trade back. That's what they're going to try to do because they don't have somebody that's worth that pick. Now, if they can't, they'll be happy taking the next guy. But generally speaking, you want to get one of those guys that you're happy with, that you have on that tier. And my thinking is that they do have 4 guys that they're going to be psyched if they're sitting there. Now, they might secretly prefer one. They're hoping for one. You can't help it, but I think that that's the way it's going to go. Daniel Faust, Boy Green called GreenBean an adopted second father. Love the Flatbush play-by-play review. Well, awesome, Daniel. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of adopted kids. I'll share with you guys a secret. This is a little bit more of a secret. I'm afraid. I have some fears, Frankie, that I'm going to learn one of these days that I don't have an imaginary adopted kid somewhere out there, that I have a kid that's going to show up and say, hello, Daddy. What do you think of that, Frankie? I'm scared. But
it's a scary world, the GreenBean. You never know.
It is.
The future's uncertain and the end is always near.
That's right. And I've lived a dark and confusing life. Not quite as confusing as jumping out of a plane. That must be something, but I have done it once, but not like you. So, anyway, Mitch checking in. I love GreenBean. He said following the season, don't order a burger at a Chinese restaurant. A defensive heavy draft. Don't reach, folks. Don't listen. I think that's what the ear means. Yeah, Mitch, I did say that. And that's the whole thing. It's not that. And when we get to these clips a little bit later, I'm going to show you and we'll discuss it. I'm curious to see what Frankie says, and we'll try to pick up a few of the comments in the chat and see what you guys think as well. But I think that they're really aware of where the talent is. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't take another position, that's offensive at 4 or 10 if that player is rated as, high enough to be taken there. At the same time, it is widely considered a defensive strong draft up top. So the fact that we have the 32nd ranked defense and the defense happens to be the strength of the draft, and they kind of think that the wide receivers are clumped together, like I've been saying for 2 months now, it would lead you to believe that they are likely to bring on defensive premier talent up as opposed to reaching, like A. Mitch is saying here, don't reach. Then, reach when you reach for need. Look, you end up with a wide receiver like Kevin White. You end up with a wide receiver like Dotson. You end up with a Brashad Perryman. Like, that's what happens. Those guys should not have been taken before the guys behind them. And they did. Why? Because teams were reaching. More than likely. I can't tell you the specific details of every pick, but that's what happens when you reach. When you need a wide receiver and you're going to get one at your pick no matter what ends up happening is you get a guy that's not as highly rated as the other guy at a position you don't want, and you end up reaching and it fails because they're not first-round talent to begin with. And that's the only concern. Who doesn't want Zach Wilson to have weapons, Frankie? I want to make sure that's clear. Right? Are you a fan of Zach Wilson having as many lethal targets as he could possibly have, Frankie?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, weapons, protection.
Right.
I think after this draft is done, we'll have given him everything he needs. You know what? And if he doesn't do it, and if he doesn't develop, guess who that's on? It's on, in my opinion, Zach Wilson. It's not on Joe Douglas. It's on Zach Wilson. After this year, now last year was a debacle. He was running for his life half the time. He gets a total mulligan on that. But now we have two good tight ends. At least we might pick up one more in the draft. At least two and Yeboah, who can catch the damn ball.
That's right.
We have tight ends who can block and catch the ball. We have a revamped line if all goes well with Becton, and Tomlinson and all that. So we fix that. And we're going to get another running back. So we got Michael Carter. We'll have another one, whether it's Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker or Isaiah Spiller or Tyler Algier or Pierre Strong, whoever it is, we'll have another one. And we have Tevin Coleman. I mean, what more do you need? And we'll get another wide receiver in this draft. We might get two wide receivers in this draft. So what else do you need? At that point, Zach has to do it. Like, there's no more excuses after this year. Now, he might start out slow. He might not start out hassle-fire, but eventually it's got to click in. And the team has been significantly upgraded.
Right. And the good news is, Frankie, from that standpoint, just to jump right off of what you just said, I feel like Zach Wilson is the guy that is going to take advantage of that and progress from this point on. We saw the settling down last year. Now, he didn't light up the NFL or anything, but we saw some very important things happen. We saw him settle down, not look so erratic. We saw his turnovers completely vanish, and we saw a few more touchdowns. And I think that's the foundation, man. He's got to stop turning the damn ball over. He's got to stop looking panicked back there. And that all happened. Now with additional protection, we got the two tight ends, as we know. Those add protection, and they are just the best safety valves you can have. Big, strong tight ends that know how to catch the ball after blocking adequately. I think that he's exactly the makeup of a quarterback that's going to take that second year jump. Now, I'll be real honest and transparent. I did say something similar for Sam Darnold. I did. Because he had those 4 games at the end of the year, his rookie year, and he looked pretty good. So I could be wrong, but I feel a little bit differently about Zach Wilson as a person than I did with Sam Darnold. So I think we're in a good spot.
Jets Forever is making a good point in the chat too. I want to point out about the history of Zach Wilson. He says Zach has never been a turnover prone quarterback. He's always been accurate. And that same thing can't be said for Sam Darnold. I remember our friend Jets by Jimmy saying Sam Darnold's been the same guy since high school.
Right.
He's been doing the same damn things since high school, and everybody thinks they could coach it out of him. You can't coach it out of him. He is who he is. And Jets Forever is saying Zach Wilson's never been a turnover machine ever. He's always been accurate. So does that guarantee success? No. But it's a pretty good indication that, it could be different than Darnold, because Darnold always had those same problems we were seeing.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. And I want to thank you for bringing out Jets Forever, making a good point, because he kind of spends a lot of time telling us who sucks. So, it's what I'm saying, Jets Forever. I know you're in there. I know you're in there, buddy. You can say good, smart stuff. After the green heart, which he starts every live stream with, he just goes on a barrage of telling you who sucks. But good stuff. And I happen to agree with that. Again, that's one of the supporting pieces of why I feel like Zach Wilson is primed to make a turnaround. Lefty Glover with the super chat. Thank you, sir. He says, well, I don't know if you're a sir. You could be a female, and I apologize if that's the case. But Lefty Glover, no less. Thank you for the super chat. Green Bean Frankie, love the show. I'm so tired of us being tied to these wide receiver trades. Let's keep our picks and build this team with our own kids. Thoughts? Well, let me say this, Lefty. If it was my way, that would probably be the way I'm leaning. Like, I would have to get a sweet deal in order for me to trade. Now, if you have the opportunity to bring on a Deebo Samuel, I would definitely explore it. Definitely. Because the guy, like Joe Douglas has said, when you're talking about a free agent or an NFL player, you already know what they're going to do at this level. So there is a level of importance that you can place on that, where the draft is a little bit more of a crapshoot. Even though they got all the talent, all the stuff you like, they come in and they crumble. Who knows why? So I would prefer always to use our picks and actually be able to hit on our picks. That is the optimal way to build a team. And then you can supplement and fill some holes with free agency. But if you know how to hit on your draft picks, if you know how to do that, that is the way to manage the salary cap properly. And that is the way to have young guys that are your team, that are New York Jets at heart. This is their team. And if you're successful with that, you have more loyalty, you have more salary cap benefit. And then even later on, when you start losing guys, you benefit in the comp pick formula. Like, there's so many reasons why that would be the best way. That said, I do think you got to explore. You have to at least explore trades like that. But I'm with you, man. It's been every single receiver, every single one. So I'm tired of it too, my friend. The draft can't come fast enough, especially with these damn trades. We're linked to everybody, but I've told you, why we're linked to everybody. It's not because we're actually linked to them. It's because they know that sells. That's it. Jets fans are out of our minds. This.
And think about it another way, Green Bean. We are currently in a position to be in on everybody. Isn't that nice? Isn't it nice that we can be in on every single damn thing going on in the NFL if we want to, if we choose to, because Joe Douglas cleaned up the salary cap. We have the least amount of dead cap space in the entire league. Joe Douglas cleaned that the hell up. And we have all of these players, and we have all of these picks that he accumulated. We have the most resources, really, of almost anybody. And so isn't it nice that whatever we choose to be in on and whatever we choose to do, we can do it. There's nothing that we can't do. And I think that's a great position to be in, even if we decide, you know what, the 49ers want too much for Deebo. No, thank you.
That's right.
But we can be in on whatever we want. We don't have to make a panic move. We don't have to go crazy. But if they want a fair deal, okay, we're open for business. Joe Douglas makes fair deals. We know that. So I'd look at it like that.
That's a fantastic point. That's right. We can. That's a great point to bring forth as well. Well, before we get to Mumtaz, I want to bring some old Dave Echeverry. Says the 49ers said, we will take Greg Van Roten, but you have to throw in another draft pick because of it. So, yeah, we got to throw in a fourth if Greg Van Roten's a part of the trade.
You got to pay a premium to get rid of him.
That was a good comment, old Dave. So our buddy Mumtaz checks in. Thank you for the super chat, Mumtaz. He says, just because he got 1,400 yards in San Francisco won't mean he would get those here. It takes a whole team, not one player. What happened to guys promoting second and third wide receivers won't give up top 4 picks for him and pay quarterback money. So, I mean, look, fair point, right, Frankie? I mean, we don't know what he's going to do over here. The only good news, I would say, Mumtaz, is that the system is almost identical. So don't forget, Mike LaFleur was on that team during his rookie year when he got 800 yards too. So some people say that it's McDaniel that was the reason he flew off the charts. Could be. But I think it's more likely he's a very good fit for this system. So I think there would at least be some replication of the production that he had. Do you see it the same, Frankie? You think there's a concern?
Well, there's a difference. They have a noodle arm quarterback named Jimmy Garoppolo who can't throw the ball outside the numbers. Have you ever seen Jimmy Garoppolo try to throw the ball outside the numbers? It's like this, a rainbow, and takes 17 years to get there. We have a rocket arm quarterback named Zach Wilson. And so, in fact, probably Deebo would do better with us because it's the same system, and we have a quarterback who can throw the ball. And don't forget, San Francisco, that's what they're trying to do. That's why they got Trey Lance, because they were tired of old Jimmy G, who can just throw the ball inside the numbers and getting people killed with his murder balls. We don't have that problem, in theory, with Zach, because he has a rocket arm. All he has to do is be accurate and we'll be good. So, in fact, I think he'd be better off with us. Same system. More of a strong arm quarterback can get the ball outside the numbers, and we don't need him to be a running back. We're happy to run our own running backs in the running game. Thank you very much.
Right. Let's see. Hold on. There's some. No, Jesse Bernard. Matter of fact, I never said that. I said I want an edge rusher. One of the two picks has to be an edge rusher. It's not my fault that you guys can't remember. All right, go back and find it for me. Never in a million years would I want to come away with a safety and a linebacker. Now, may I have explored it? Of course, I explore everything. You guys know this about me. I'm actually one who looks at things. I look at things to see how the rest of the scenario would shake out if that happened. I do that all the time. Never, not once, did I say I'm hoping to come out of this draft with a safety and a linebacker in the first round. You're wrong. I don't know what to tell you. You guys can get 400 more of you to write comments about it. It doesn't make it right. Okay. Because I know I've never once. Edge rusher is the position that I'm hoping they come out with most in this first round. In addition to that, I wouldn't even be upset if they grabbed 2 edge rushers and forego the rest of the damn positions and waited till the second round. So I'm telling you guys, you can't make shit up. You know what I mean? If I've explored it on a stream, what would that look like? It doesn't mean I said I want it. Okay, Jesse Barrera?
I mean, maybe Dean in the second. I've seen Nakobe Dean slip.
I've seen that recently too. Yeah, sure.
I had a mock draft where Devin Lloyd slipped to us in the second. We got Devin Lloyd in the second round. I was like, you got to be kidding me. What? Devin Lloyd is here. Excuse me.
Yeah, I know. Right. Well, look, this is the thing, man. The truth is that we get all kind of hardened in our stance and we think we know stuff. But the truth is that at any pick, the entire draft could go sideways. And it happens every year. The best example from last year is Creed Humphrey. In every draft that we did on the Monday night 10 o'clock mock, every single draft, if Creed Humphrey was there in the second, everybody went nuts. He's never going to be there. This is unrealistic. I said, hey, it happens every year.
Yeah.
You know, again, I want to remind you guys, all the wide receivers that we're talking about trading for and giving $25 million this year, guess what round every single one of them were in?
Yeah, the second, and Terry McLaurin the third, I think.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill's the fourth. So the only one that was a first round pick was Amari Cooper. That's it. Deebo Samuel, second round pick. AJ Brown, second round pick. DK Metcalf, second round pick. So don't talk to me about this stuff and what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know.
Everybody has the funny thing is there's always 50 guys that people say are absolutely first round picks. These 50 guys are definitely going in the first round. There's no doubt about it. Well, unfortunately, unfortunately, there's only 32 picks, so they can't possibly all go in the first round. So somebody got to fall. But every year, everybody says, "Oh, these guys are well, somebody's got to fall." And the nice thing is, with what we've done in free agency, like I was talking about earlier, we don't have to reach, we don't have to panic, we don't have to do anything. We can do so many things, and things are going to fall into our lap. Like maybe Devin Lloyd falls into our lap at 35.
Maybe
it could. I mean, maybe it happened on a simulator. Well, the simulators are stupid, but
yeah, I know. But look, Frankie, it happened with Elijah Moore last year. We saw that in Flight 2021, which, by the way, I can't wait for Flight 2022.
I'm going to be so
Flight 2021. We saw in their meetings they had Elijah Moore rated as the 16th overall player in the draft.
Right.
They were picking at 33, and guess who was there? They couldn't even believe it.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Did you see Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh embrace each other? They were like, yeah, they hugged. They gave a big, huge bear hug, man style, when they got Elijah Moore, because he wasn't supposed to be there. In all of our mocks, Frankie, we never even talked about Elijah Moore in the second. Why? Because he wasn't going to be there.
Yeah.
So I want to point out, Kev did come back. Good. Kev Kachata, my old buddy, did come back and say that I do agree with GreenBean. Now, I don't know specifically, but I'm taking it. I'm taking it, Kev. Don't forget, guys, I am the guy. I mean, I don't speak for anybody else. I'm not saying anybody else is or isn't this, but for me, I enjoy exploring different scenarios. Just because I've said, hey, what would it look like if we took Icky and Neil at 4 and 10? Just because I said that doesn't mean that's what I want. I'm looking at it. What happens when we do that? Right. You know what I mean? Like in the 2020 draft, one of my favorite things to do on the simulators, because I wanted a tackle. I was really hoping that we got one of those top 4 tackles. One of the things I like to do the most was to take a wide receiver at pick 11, our pick, so I can see what tackles fell. So I can see if it made any sense to take CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy or any of the guys that we like. As much as I like CeeDee Lamb at up at 11. If we went wide receiver at 11, I was hoping it was CeeDee Lamb. That said, I didn't want him. I wanted a tackle, but I explored the living shit out of what it would look like if we took CeeDee Lamb. I want to see. You know what I mean? Does it make any sense? Now, let me tell you this. Here's my other little nugget for everybody. I'm going to tell you right now, Garrett Wilson is going to be potentially the first wide receiver taken. If not, he's going to be taken in the first half of the draft. He might even be ours, right? I think Jahan Dotson is going to go to the Chiefs, and he's going to have the better career. You heard it here first. I'm telling you, go look at all their stuff. They're so comparable. It's nuts. And I happen to like Jahan Dotson a little bit better. Why? One's at Ohio State, one's at Penn State. So who knows why one is favored a little bit more. You like few things that this guy does better. That's all fine. In my opinion, Jahan Dotson is the golden nugget of this draft. And I think he's going to go to the Chiefs, and he's going to completely replicate that Tyreek Hill character that they had in their offense, and they're not going to miss a goddamn beat, Frankie. It's going to be as if they didn't trade anybody. That's what I say.
It is possible that they don't use either of those first-round picks on wide receivers. Just to throw a wild card out there, because they
but I think they will.
They might, but they also did sign Juju Smith-Schuster. They also do have Mecole Hardman, and they have a couple of guys.
Yeah, the other guy. What's his name? I wanted him.
And they signed somebody else. But so
the other receiver they have.
They might not want to use. They might want to shore up their defense. In other words, with those picks, and then maybe in the 3rd or 4th round they get a Sky Moore, Wan'Dale Robinson type.
Wan'Dale Robinson, that's another one I like. Little slight.
But for them, for them to have a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson who can kind of be a scramble drill wide receiver, a lot of times for the Chiefs, it's just Patrick Mahomes in scramble drill, and he's running around, he's running 30, 40 yards, but, running around people, scramble drill, and then he finds somebody. And it usually was Tyreek Hill. But so if you put Wan'Dale Robinson in there, that's a guy who could fit that type of thing. Okay, scramble drill, just be quick and fast and run around and outlast everybody. And then eventually Mahomes will find you with his rocket arm. So, that kind of a guy makes sense for them. Makes a lot of sense for them.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my similar thinking with a Jahan Dotson. I think he could run that same panic drill, very effectively. So it's like, look, that's the whole thing. Like, we're scrambling for a wide receiver at 10. And we might do that. And if we do, I'm happy. At the same time, it's at least important to explore what are the next tier of wide receivers looking like. Is it Jahan Dotson, Alec Pierce, Christian Watson? That's where
the tier system comes in. Like, if you think that the second tier is very close to the first tier, then we might go defense, because you think, well, all these guys we're kind of feel good about anyway, that we know we can get in the second round because there's only so many picks, so it depends how close the tiers are. On the other hand, if you have these 4 guys on top that are clearly better than everybody else, Wilson, Williams, Olave, London usually are the top 4. And if you say those guys are so far better than everybody and you have them all the way up there, then you take one of those at 10, because you can't get the same quality in your scouting, in your scouting opinion, that you can later. So it depends how close the tiers are, I think.
Right. No, that's exactly right. And in just a minute, we're just crossing over the first hour, and I want to start. I'll get to a few more super chats before we do this, and then obviously I'm going to get to every super chat. But I want to start to look at some of the clips that I have prepared for you guys in the recent press conference with our general manager and our assistant or vice general manager, Rex Hogan. So they said some pretty interesting things, and some of it goes along with what we're talking about here. And we can just try to disseminate what it is that we think they actually mean, which is if it is smoke screen or what have you. But before we do, I want to thank Salty Nuts for his super chat. It's good to see you, Salty Balls. He says, GreenBean, I haven't bashed Becton like a lot of fans, but I have to admit, now I am disgusted to hear he's not coming to OTAs. I feel JD is going to go tackle at 4. Well, maybe you missed what Frankie was talking about in the beginning, John, and which I happen to agree with. There are numerous reasons for Becton not to be there, and it's not reasons that we're pulling out of our ass. Like, he's in the middle of a rehab training regimen with probably the best, if not the best, he's among the best offensive line coaches around the NFL circles in Duke Manyweather. So he's already in the middle of that. So why? And they weren't expecting him. That's why Salah said, remember the interview last month at the owners' meetings? He said, no, we're looking for Becton at training camp. And everyone, holy shit, he's not healthy, blah. And we all drew our conclusions. But the truth is, they weren't expecting him. And he has his wife, or girlfriend, is 7-8 months, whatever it is, pregnant. So they're just saying, hey, do that. Continue your training regimen, and we'll see you. Don't forget what this isn't OTAs, guys. This is just voluntary. It's voluntary. So this isn't. There are mandatory sessions and there are voluntary sessions. Now, of course, we'd all want every guy to be there for that's the best optics, right? But the truth is that there are other things that can be beneficial. We had 99%, Frankie. I think 2 guys didn't show up. Both happened to have pregnant women. It was Connor McGovern and Mekhi Becton, right?
Yeah, Mekhi Becton's girlfriend or wife, she's going to give birth to the little ticket, they're calling it. The little ticket.
Yeah, the little ticket.
Is that? But now, Salty Nuts, let me tell you something, Salty Nuts. Let me make you a promise, okay? Because Salty Nuts also watches my channel too. I will tell you when it's time to panic about Mekhi, okay? I promise you. I'll make a video. When you see that video, then you can panic. But now, don't get worked up, Salty Nuts. I'm telling you, relax. There's plenty of reasons, like GreenBean just laid out. They're voluntary. His girlfriend's pregnant, and he's training with Duke Manyweather. He's training with Duke Manyweather. You can't get a better training program than what he's involved in now. Can't be any better. Yeah. So, and I will tell you, Salty Nuts. So don't be disgusted. Don't worry. Old Frankie will tell you when it's time to panic. You don't have to worry. I'll let you know.
Yeah, there you go. And I thank Frankie for that. That's good to have Frankie around. But don't forget, guys, all they're allowed to do in these sessions is meetings and work out. Right. That's it. And rehab. So he's already rehabbing. So why break that up and bring, I don't know. It's just, to me, look, what I prefer, just so I don't have to hear this bullshit, not you, John, but all the sport writers and everything. Yeah, I would just prefer that all issues are eradicated and we just can zip it up and be nice and peacefully walking forward. I would prefer that. But when you look at the reality of it, it's okay, it's really not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. And I wouldn't overreact, John. Don't think we're going tackle at 4. But again, if we do, just like Frankie said earlier, it means something. Right. It definitely means that they're not as keen on Becton as we'd hoped that they would be for whatever reason. So we'll know shortly. We'll know if they take Icky at 4 or Neil or whoever it is, there's concerns. And then I would look for maybe a trade or something like that. All right. So let me, I see Sneakers to Boots. You'll have the next super chat. And I'll get to that. Among the rest, I see them all. And Jeremy from NFL Chaos with Jeremy is here, keeping tabs on all of them for me. But I want to play some of this, this press conference for you guys. Now, we'll listen to a couple clips. I have them broken up for you guys so we can talk about them. But we'll listen to a couple, then we'll talk, and then we'll do the rest. But Frankie, make sure when I push play, I can't see it. So if you could just let me know yes or no if you can hear it. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. there's the thing. Now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hit play. Can you hear it?
No.
You can't hear it?
No. We need more volume.
All right. I don't know why that is. Why the hell does it not come through? So I don't know. All right, let me do this. Okay. All right. How about now?
Yeah.
For us to talk about the off season with our coaching staff, it's a great
little low
opportunity
still.
for us. I know myself and Joe, neither one of us had ever been involved in the Senior Bowl with an organization in a coaching capacity. So definitely a unique opportunity.
Deebo has asked for a trade. Have you guys made a call for San Francisco? Is that a market that you're involved in?
Rex got this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great position to be in. We've obviously there's been a lot of moves made to be in this position, and unfortunately we've had to trade some really good players to be in this position. But it's a great opportunity.
Talk about this.
So Frankie, real quick before we move on, and there's only about 3 minutes of this, so you guys don't have to. We're not going to spend all night on this, but I want to talk about these few things. Number one, Rex Hogan brought up that neither him nor Joe Douglas had ever worked for a staff that had the opportunity to be a part of the Senior Bowl. They've obviously visited and done the things, but they were never running it before, never, not at any point in their career. And I want to like explore this. How much do you think that's going to impact? Like they took it maybe even more seriously than a lot of other organizations like the Jaguars or the Panthers, whoever's been there recently. It seemed like the Jets took it more seriously. We heard all those reports coming out. The Jets practices are so much more efficient and all that. It seemed like they took it more seriously. Do you think this really could lead to us kind of zeroing in on some of the guys that we had there? Maybe a Zion Johnson, maybe a Trey McBride or a Rashad White or any of these guys, Perion Winfrey, Boye Mafe, that they got to work with. Do you think this is going to end up leading to us kind of using the Senior Bowl as a platform to get a lot of our players in the draft?
Well, what I think is that Saleh and the coaching staff had a lot of experience with the Senior Bowl. I think Saleh was there for his third time. And so they ran it very efficiently. They knew exactly what was going to happen. They knew how to prepare. They knew how to get everything done. And so I think that reflected, in how we ran our side of it. The other part of it is I think that where it comes into play is like the undrafted free agents, the guys who are on the bubble, the guys who are going to have a lot of choice in where they go. I think that's where we're going to see value. We will know who out of that, there's going to be a big crop of guys available this year. Don't forget, there's a lot more guys in the draft this year because of COVID. So this is a big draft in terms of the number of players available, which means that some of those people who are good players are not going to get drafted. And there's going to be a lot of competition for them as undrafted free agents. And so I think we could use that as a way to identify those players and also have those players have a good feeling for us. And those players might want to get coached for us, by us. They might say, I want to go be coached by Tony Oden. I want to be coached by, Jeff Ulbrich and all our guys. So I think that's really where the Senior Bowl value is. You get a little bit of, you see the guys, and it's sort of like a head start on the process because you get some, you don't have to go down to the combine. You get to go with these guys and see about half the draft class or whatever it may be. And so, it's a head start. And I think the big advantage is really in the undrafted free agent pool. That's how I see it. I don't really think, people said, and one thing, people said, oh, all these tight ends, the Jets are going to see all these tight ends. And that means they're going to pick one or two of them. And maybe it's going to be McBride and maybe it's going to be this one and that one. And then the first thing we did in free agency is sign 2 tight ends. So I don't think we were too excited about the tight ends we saw.
That's interesting because it looked like we would have been excited, when we were all excited. But that's a fantastic point, man. Like we saw the tight ends up close and personal. Most of the higher regarded tight ends that were in the Senior Bowl were on our team. And it looked like, they used them, they were effective, and then they went out in free agency and unsigned 2 of them. So what does that mean? They clearly
And we have the picks to pick them. I mean, everybody was mocking 35 Trey McBride to us. He would have been almost certainly available at 35 or 38. So we could have got him, and maybe we will still get one of those guys. In my latest mock, I got Charlie Kolar in the 5th round, which I doubt, but
Right.
you know, so you know, we'll see. But you know, I'm excited about the undrafted free agents because we're still at a point where undrafted free agents are important for us. Undrafted free agents, you know, aren't as important for the Chiefs or the Bills because those guys aren't going to make those teams. You come here as a UDFA, you got a shot. I mean, we got playing time for you potentially if you can make it.
Yeah, it's a good point. So let's listen to some more of this and see where we go here. All right. So they're asking about the wide receivers here. I just don't want to miss the beginning of it. This is some interesting comments. I want everybody to take a listen here.
You know, you take into consideration with each one of the guys on an individual basis on whether or not how they've worked out or not. Our analytics guys do a great job of making projections on what they do from the models they built out and from what our scouts do in terms of with their own eyes and with our own eyes what we see on tape. So in terms of a guy like that, you just make the assessment based off what you've seen off tape and that projection. But overall, the receiver group as a whole, there's a lot of parity at the top of the draft and throughout the draft.
So there's an interesting word that he used there, Frankie, and that is something that I've been trying to. It was delightful for me to hear this, you know, not that it can't be smoke or anything, because it echoed what I've been trying to say, that there's a lot of parity. Now, I also prepared this for you guys, Frankie. So if you guys don't know what parity means, I'm going to do something for you right now. Where did it go? Here you go. There it is. So parity means this: equality as in amount, status, or character, equivalence, correspondence, similarity, and then in finance, equivalence and value. So it basically means there's a lot of similar value across the board. So what did he say there? He said there's a lot of parity with the wide receiver group up top and throughout the class. So Frankie, I'd love to hear, you know where I'm going with this, but I'd love to hear what you think that means. And guys in the chat, I'm going to go down to the bottom of the chat now. Like I said, I'm going to go back for the super chats and some other comments, but I want to see what you guys think that means. But Frankie, you're up first. What do you think he's saying here?
Well, if I had to guess, I would say what he means is that there's 4 or 5 guys that we'd love to take at 10. And whoever falls to us, we're good. Jameson. And part of this is informed by the reception perception data. And they basically are saying that the top is basically, you know, Garrett Wilson, Olave, Jameson Williams, Drake London, and who's the other one that I forgot? But anyway, there's like 5 at the top of the class, 4 or 5.
Right.
And you can't really go wrong. It's just kind of like, do you want the speed of a Jameson Williams? Do you want the yak of Drake London? Do you want the route running precision of Chris Olave? Or do you want a combination of all of that with Garrett Wilson, the body control of Garrett Wilson? So what kind of guy do you want in terms of what fits your scheme? But those guys seem to be all, equal, roughly equal at the top. And then there's probably a bunch of guys after that who are all roughly equal in terms of the next tier. There's probably, I don't know, there's maybe 10 more guys that are probably roughly equal. So if I had to guess, I would think that's what he's talking about. The 2 tiers, you have one at the top, and then the next tier, there's a group, another group.
Right. So I think that you're nailing it. I mean, what it's really saying is that there's no reason to panic. There's parity in this group. So it's not like, you know, the year when Chase Young came out, right? Just using a different position. Or let's even use last year's wide receiver class. There was a distinct peak of the class. There was a tip, and it was filled with Jamar Chase and maybe Jalen Waddle and Devonta Smith. That was after that, you can make arguments for different guys that you like for your team. But Jamar Chase was far and away the number 1 wide receiver in the class last year. Excuse me. People are saying they like one receiver over another, but there's a more of a melding of these receivers where it's very different than even the year before. It was CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and then if you like the speedster, Henry Ruggs way up top, and then Justin Jefferson. And then it was the rest of the pack, the Jalen Riegers, the the Brandon Ayuk's and Michael Pittman's and all those who are great receivers, but there was a clear, defined, peak of the class. And what I'm hearing here is kind of what I've been trying to say. A lot of guys is that, look, if you decide not to go receiver at 10 because it's not rated as highly as another position that you could use on the team, there's more than likely going to be other guys that you have rated similarly at your next pick because we have such early second round picks. Now, if we were at, pick, let's say 61 or maybe not. Okay. Now you got a different thought process, but we are, as soon as the second round starts, we are the third pick. We have the third overall pick in the second round, is the same way as we have the fourth in the first round. So it's an interesting comment because I don't think that a lot of people want to hear this. And again, I'm not trying to be combative or anything, but I'm just trying to put forth the information that we collect out here. And look, our assistant general manager is saying, hey, there's a lot of parity here. So just like Frankie said, there's going to be tiers, no doubt. There's definitely going to be tiers of people, but there's probably more people in that tier than you think there are. There's not one guy up top and we need to get him. And if not, then it falls off a cliff. So I'm telling you guys, you might want to keep your eyes open for another position at 10. I still think it's at bare minimum 50% that we're going to take a wide receiver. I think it's definitely in play, but I would not be surprised if Kyle Hamilton slips there, or if a Sauce slipped there, or if they love a linebacker or maybe even a tackle or something like that, defensive side. I wouldn't be surprised, guys. And I know a lot of you are going to be. You're going to be blown away. So anyway.
And you could look at that and you could say maybe that's a vote of confidence for old Mimsy. What about that?
Mimsy getting some loving. Now,
hey,
it's funny.
I'm a big fan, GreenBean.
Hell yeah. You and me both, buddy. I'm a big supporter of Denzel Mims. Again, I just don't think, number one, I don't think he's getting a fair shake on what he did do last year. You did an excellent job of showing that. But even aside from that, when you look at his whole career, college and the pros, last year is the anomaly. You know what I mean? It's very, very different than everything else he's put forth. So, 4 good years, 1 terrible year, you throw him in the garbage. It's like, I just don't see things that way. I think give him year 3 and we're going to see some stuff.
And if the way you could look at it is, we're going to give Mims a chance, but he's got to compete for it. So we're still going to get a wide receiver. We're not going to not do that. But we can wait and get a Jahan Dotson, Christian Watson, somebody in the second round. I love Alec Pierce. Love Alec Pierce.
Yeah, sure.
Love. And in the fourth round, we can get another one. We can get Kyle Phillips. We can get one. And so it's not like we're saying Mimsy's going to do it. It's like, well, he's going to have to compete, but maybe we don't need, maybe we don't need that top tier. Maybe instead focus on defense, get that squared away, and then bring in the next tier of wide receiver and let them all compete and see who comes out on top.
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, that's what Sneakers to Boots is talking about right here, Frankie. He says, imagine if Elijah Moore proves to be a wide receiver 1. Everyone wants the shiny new toy in the draft. Of course, it's very natural. Don't forget about Mimsy from Coach Saleh and Joe Douglas. And like Frankie just said, maybe even from Rex Hogan on a little bit more covert tip. Maybe not, but maybe so. He's might even be giving Mims a vote of confidence here. And that's the interesting thing. It's like, look, I think it's a good idea to make sure that he knows, look, dude, you're starting from behind here. You're wide receiver 6. You got to work your way up. Nothing wrong with it. But as long as they give him that shot and he's healthy and they don't fucking feed him poison food and whatever the hell is that's going on. Look, he caught the food poisoning and the COVID at the facility. So it's like, hey, man, it's crazy what this poor guy went through. But anyway, I just want to see him be given a chance because let me tell you, 6'3", 9.75 RAS score, 4.38 40, high point hitch running, contested catch, dude, and he's a blocker.
He blocks his butt off. And the other thing is, remember the reception perception analysis of Elijah Moore's game. And remember, the reception perception guy, Matt Harmon, is the best in the business, knows everything about wide receivers you could ever want to know. And he says Elijah Moore is ungodly good at the game. ungodly good at the game. He is wide receiver 1.
Ungodly. You
Yeah.
got to love that. Yeah, so that's fantastic. But thank you, Sneakers to Boots. You see that we're in a similar page. Now, I'm not gonna, boast and tell people that I guarantee Mims gonna, but I really am confident. I'm confident, and I think if he's given a chance, maybe last year was actually ultimately for his best, because look, he already looks significantly stronger and ripped, and Chad Marr and his training matrix is doing good things for him. Jose Corniel checking in says trading back with the Titans at 26. Did JD tip his hand? I don't know what that means. Did you hear anything about that, Frankie?
No. I mean, why would the Titans want to move up? For what?
I don't know.
The Titans, because then they'd have to give up 26 and a lot more. You'd think the Titans are going to stay where they're at and use all their picks to get, to build around their team. They don't have much to go. They were the number 1 seed last year, and they're getting Derrick Henry back, obviously. And, he's a key part of their offense, and more healthy this year. So I don't see what they would want to move up for. They don't need a quarterback. They don't have any obvious needs that I'm aware of.
Yeah, that's interesting. And look, they would have to pay their asses off to get up even to 10. I mean, that's 16 picks. You're leaving the top 10 to go, past the top 25. I mean, that's a whole different batch of people. So they would have to pay. I mean, it would be expensive to get up there. We'd get AJ Brown next year's first, all kinds of fun stuff. A lifetime subscription to the Jelly of the Month Club.
We would take the name Titans back.
That's right. Give it to us. And the powder blue of their uniforms. Oh God. All right. So let's finish this press conference. There's a few more things about, they asked the Jets, when are we to expect results? I think that's a fair question. With Joe Douglas has been in this rebuild. What is it about, when the hell can we expect some results from you guys? So this next little chunk kind of has to deal with that. And I think you'll like it.
This was a question that was asked in Florida, and we expect to be playing in meaningful games in December and tighter games. We feel like we're a better team now than we were at the end of last season, and we're going to get better here in a few days. So I know Coach is excited. All these players that are here starting on Monday, they're excited to go out and compete. So. Look, we're expecting to get better.
A lot of what you've done in the first couple of years has been about getting assets for the future, extra first-round picks or whatever down the line. Are you more now about now, or are you less inclined to make a trade down if it gets you future assets because you want to get those impact players now?
Yeah, I don't think you ever have the luxury of, as a general manager, of thinking just now. I think you always have to have an eye on the future and the horizon, and so. You in one respect, you're trying to put the best available team that you can on the field for 2022, but you have to also be thinking about 23 and 24. Yeah, I mean, I think we're expecting to follow our board and take the best player available. You go into any draft, whether you're picking 4, 10, 26, and you say we have to have 4 players we're excited about picking. We have
See
to
that,
have 10
Frankie?
players we're excited about picking. I can tell you that we have 10 players on our board that we'd be very excited to add to the team.
Good.
So, number one, I mean, it's kind of a stock answer, right? We want to be playing meaningful games in December. But I like the way that they asked that question about, since you've been here, you've been kind of tear down and rebuild, acquiring assets. Do you think now is the time to actually be maybe not trading back for assets and taking the more, impactful player where you sit? Is that where you turned it off right now? And Joe Douglas kind of danced a little bit, in my opinion. And he kind of said, like, look, we're trying to get good players, but we're always going to be thinking about next year and the year beyond that. Frankie, how does that land with you? Is it a positive or is it a negative? What do you think of that one?
Well, for one thing, it's GM speak. I mean, we're taking the best player available. That's
Yeah,
what they all
right.
say. We're taking the best, and they kind of have to say that, right? Because it's just sort of par for the course, and it doesn't lead to all the more questions about your needs and why do you think you need to improve the tight end room? Don't you love CJ and Tyler? What are you doing? Like if he said we're going to go after tight ends, like he's not going to say that, So it's just sort of the obvious stock answers. But on the other hand, he said we got at least 4 players that we like at 4, which is what I was saying before, and we got 10 players we like, which is I don't think it's any coincidence we're picking 4 at 10. So he's basically saying whoever we pick, we're going to like them. They're going to be good players. We're about to improve our team. We should all be excited as hell. I know I am. Whichever way it goes, we get Sauce, we get we get Kyle, we get Hutch, we get KT, we get Jermaine Johnson. Whoever we get, they're going to be a good ball player and they're going to help us.
Yeah, and look, man, I think that's it. Look, we all could tell that it's coach speak, GM speak. But at the same time, I think it's really important for us to kind of turn that corner. And even though I do like that he's a GM that's thinking about the future, look, we spent the last 2 years acquiring these assets. It's important.
We got to be better. We got to be better this year. We have to be better this year. And I think we will when you combine the free agents we picked up with who we're going to get in this draft. I mean, the roster is a lot better, right? Even right now today. The roster's a lot better. I mean, we re-signed Vinny Curry. Raise your hand if you thought we were getting Vinny Curry.
Right. Yeah, right. Not me.
Vinny Curry's good. He's good at passing the right. I mean, he's not TJ Watt, but he can do something that we need called rushing the passer. And I didn't think we were going to have Vinny Curry this year.
No.
That was a surprise.
Yeah, I thought his career was over. That's what I thought. Right. Yeah,
me too.
So that was good. Now somebody asked me, like, does that mean we're not going edge? No, it does not mean that.
No, it doesn't. It means Bryce Huff may play fewer snaps, which is a good thing.
Yes, it is. I think those guys at that end of the, that side of the depth, it's good to have a pitch count. Keep them fresh when they come in. They're filled with spittle and foam. That's what you want, and not because their mouth is dry, Frankie. You got to hydrate them.
This is the way I think about it, GreenBean. If you're counting on Bryce Huff to do something, you're in trouble. When Bryce Huff does something, you should be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot we had Bryce Huff. That's fantastic."
Right? Exactly.
That's how you want your roster to be.
Yeah, and I'll play one more clip in just a second. I want to catch up a little bit here, but there's one more interesting clip where Joe Douglas talks about best player available versus need, and that's an interesting one. I think he gets a little bit deeper, and I think you guys will find it interesting. But I want to thank Jake for the super chat. He says, looking forward to the draft stream. He's talking about the Talking Jets panel over at Jets Talk 24/7. Myself, Matt O'Leary and GreenBean. I am GreenBean. Matt O'Leary and Ryan will be over there for all 3 days of the first round. Days 2 and 3, we will have tons and tons of guests. Everybody in the Jets content world that you can think of, from Jake Asman to the JetX guys, all the way to Dom C and everybody else in between. We're going to have a friggin' blast, and I hope you guys watch the draft with us. It's going to be going the whole time, just like the last few years that we've done this. But he's looking forward to it, to see who everyone is saying has zero shot falls into our lap in round 2. Exactly, Jake. Calm GreenBean down a bit after last month. I know. I feel like my blood pressure's been up this last week, Jake. What the fuck is that? I think it's because I traveled to New York and New Jersey. That's what it is. It's like a week before I go up north and a week after I go up there. I'm all messed up in the head. My wife says that when we're driving in, when we're like around Delaware, she literally turns to me and says, "Hey, you don't have to be New Jersey, Kyle, when we get up here." I'm like, "Yes, I do, you fucking asshole." Like, that's just how I get tense. So I think that's what's going on. But yeah, Jake, I think I could use a little calming down, my friend. Let's get to AbLab Studios. Thank you, AbLab Studios. He says, JD will draft value all the way. He won't take a wide receiver at 10. More bang for the buck to go wide receiver in the second round. Edge at 4. Stingley at 10. Wow, okay. Defense 4. Defense 10. Thoughts? I have to say, I spent some time hanging out. I was editing some stuff, and I listened to the JetX, Joe Blewett and Kyle last night for about an hour, and they were talking about the importance of cornerback in this defense. And they're not buying that it's less important. They think cornerback is important, that no matter how you slice it. And I do agree to an extent. That said, is it important enough in this defense to forego bringing on an elite edge rusher? And that's where I say no. Now, you have an edge rusher here, which is fine. I don't think we're going to use one of our top picks. I don't think we're taking cornerback at all, unless, toward the end, he's just the best guy on the board and all that sort of stuff. But I don't see it, Ablab. What do you think, Frankie? Number one cornerback in the top two picks, Stingley in particular.
Well, isn't that interesting, Stingley? It's something to think about because it's it's a high risk, high reward move because you might get the way I think of Stingley, you might get Darrelle Revis, you might get D Milner. And do you want to take the chance? And you don't know which one it is. It could be Darrelle, could be D Milner. Which one? We don't know, but there's a 50-50 chance it's one or the other. So do you really want to take that high risk, high reward shot with Stingley? If I had to guess, that doesn't seem like a Joe Douglas thing to do. So I would think of it like, well, if we're going to do Stingley, if you substitute Sauce in there, okay. I could see Sauce because Sauce is more of a sure thing. You know what you're getting with Sauce, and people are all saying he's like the most sure thing cornerback in the draft. So if it were Edge and Sauce, because Sauce drops to 10 somehow, then I could see it, and I'd be happy with that. And then you'd have to tell me, okay, great, Bryce Hall can play if you tell me Bryce Hall can be excellent at the slot corner position, oh boy, now I'm excited.
Yeah,
but I would need Tony Oden to tell me that, or somebody like Joe Blewett, or somebody like that, because I haven't heard anybody tell me whether or not Bryce Hall can play the slot. Because I'd love to do that with Sauce, and then have an upgrade in the slot over Michael Carter, and then we'd really have something in terms of coverage.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I just don't see it. Like, again, if the player, let's say it is Stingley, just because Ablab brought it up. Let's say Stingley on their board is far and away better than the guys that are available around him. Should they go for him? Yeah, because he's a better football player and you can figure it out how that's going to impact it later. That said, I don't think that it's going to be the case. I think that there are edge rushers down there that are going to be, and or linebackers and wide receivers and defensive tackles. There's going to be all sorts of other positions down there that they're going to have high rated in the same respective tier, right? So I just don't think that bringing on a cornerback to kind of mess up and just, muck up the works, let's say, when we have a group of guys there that are playing well, and they didn't have the luxury of having a legitimate pass rush and or even some legitimate safety help. They were alone out there, man, and they played well. And linebackers, so they were literally alone out there. I think it would be better to strengthen and embolden the other areas and see what these cornerbacks really can do, rather than the first chance you get, stick a stick in the spokes, and when you already have holes everywhere else, Ablab. So I'm half with you, buddy. I'm half with you. Sonia's back. What's up, Sonia? She's the Browns fan. It's good to have you here. The only nice Browns fan I've ever met. I'm going to say that too. As you know, most of the people in here know I don't have a good relationship with Browns fans, to the tune of blood and cops. So that's how bad it got, Sonia. But I'm glad you're here. You are softening my heart. So thank you. Lefty Glover checking back in, Frankie. KT at 4. And JJ or Karlaftis at 10 would be lovely, just like the 2000 draft. I would even do the KT or Jermaine Johnson at 4 and Hamilton at 10. Thoughts? And let's focus on the front end of that. How are you going to feel when Joe Douglas brings in 2 edge rushers with 2 top 10 picks this year, like half of our 2000 first-round draft class?
Well, I mean, we do have Jacob Martin and Vinny Curry and Carl Lawson, and I mean, at some point you do have too many. I think if we get, at some point, Bryce Huff has to, is in there in the mix. But I mean, so I think 1 is enough. I mean, if you want to double down, go for a Jordan Davis or go for, somebody like that. But I really think 1 is enough. We did sign Vinny Curry. That did happen. So Carl Lawson is coming back, and we're optimistic about Carl Lawson. So, and we do have Solomon Thomas, and we do have Jacob Martin, and we do have Brett. So I don't think we need two edges. We need one. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Joe Douglas was asked in that press conference, how high, like how much are you expecting Carl Lawson to come back? Like, are you planning for contingency, or are you moving forward as if he's coming back? He said, we're moving forward as if he's coming back. We fully expect Carl Lawson to explode on the scene this year. And hey, man, it would be great if you did, Lefty. I'll tell you that. But I wouldn't be that upset by it. But I'm kind of with Frankie. I think in the same way I'm talking about cornerbacks and offensive tackles, I would love to see some of this premium capital spread around a little bit. Let's share the love. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Darrell Reeve is checking in. It's nice to have you here, Darrell. I'm a big supporter of you making it to the hall. So there's that. He says, my Lord, just settle down and draft right. We have all these holes and we're ready to unleash 30 million. Let's relax and take our guys and develop and put our guys in position to be Deebo. We should be past this. Well, we should be past this piece, Darrell. I don't know. I mean, look, you've been hanging out with us since 2006, I think it was, right? So I don't know how long you've been an actual fan of this crazy ass team, but we have been in a decade and change of complete ineptitude. So I think the idea of bringing on sure things is still attractive. We're not going to be past this until we get a winning season. When we get a winning season, fans are going to settle down a little bit and start believing. But up to this point, we haven't had much reason to believe. So I do understand it. That said, I agree with you. What do you think, Frankie? You think drafting a guy and developing him to make our own Deebo is more beneficial than just going out there and grabbing a sure thing?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, if you knew you could, you would, because it's a lot cheaper to do that. And that's why we always say you build through the draft. And if we do get a Deebo, I trust JD not to get fleeced. I mean, it's not JD's nature to get fleeced. So if he feels that the deal is worth it, he'll make it. But yeah, ideally you would want to develop people. And one thing we are going to do is we're going to develop Elijah Moore into a wide receiver one. Promise you that much.
Hell yeah. There you go.
So there's that. But, we'll see. I mean, yeah, I'd prefer to do that. And we might just do that. But then you have the thing where you got to wait for rookies, and rookies make rookie mistakes, and sometimes they don't pan out. Whereas with Deebo or anybody like that, AJ, DK, et cetera, they're sure things. You know what you got. So, we'll see. But ideally, you would like to draft and develop your own. Yes.
Ideally. So Kev checks in. He doesn't like the 2020 draft class. He says JD Blue 2020, worst draft in years. Kev, I don't know, buddy. You got to look back and see how many players are actually on our team from any of these draft classes. I mean, when you talk about both first round picks in 2015 being off the team in 4 years, that's not, I don't know, dude. I don't think 2020 is anywhere near. If we get Becton and Hall and Mann out of it, it's better than 50% of our draft classes of all time. You know what I mean? Like, that's how bad we really are at this. So and again, I'm going to say this, what I've said probably 500 times in the past year. It takes 3 years to evaluate a draft class. It takes 3 years. Now, let's say it's still a bad draft class. And we'll know that at the end of this year. This is when these guys are supposed to be, firming up who they're going to be in the NFL. Some of them could even wait 2-3 more years. Look at guys like Waller out there for the Raiders. I mean, Jets fans would have wanted him cut the first 3 or 4 years of his career. He did nothing. And now look at him. You know what I mean? So it takes time sometimes. That said, I think there's reason to be down on the 2020 draft class, but there are plenty of legitimate reasons why it ended up this way. And least of which is the fact that Joe Douglas wasn't even the friggin' GM. I mean, he was, but he had a partner. It was 2 guys. Let's not forget that. Different regime, different coaching staff, and the fact that he had a co-GM at the time. So I think there's a lot to look at here, but at the core of it, I would say wait till the end of this year before we start labeling this draft class. But again, I still don't think, even with where it stands now, it's not the worst draft class in years. What do you think, Frankie?
Well, Bryce Hall's a starter. Ashton Davis is a starter. Mekhi Becton is a starter. Denzel Mims has potential, and LaMichael Pirine and Zabari Zuniga are still here. They're not, they're practice squad players. So if you get 3 or 4 and Braden Mann's a starter. So if you get 3 or 4 starters out of a draft, that's an excellent draft. So, and then all you have to do is look at the 2019 draft. We got Ja'Kai Polite in the 3rd round, and he didn't even make it to training camp.
Yeah.
So if you say 2020 is the worst, the worst in years, just look at the previous year.
Yeah.
All we really got out of 2019 is Quinnen and
Fadukasi. Fadukasi was another good.
Yeah. But really that was it. And so that's not even comparable to 2020. And 2020 is the one we're down on, and yet we have all these starters out of it.
Yeah, and then 2021, it's like JD. You think Rex was coming on for cover for JD? I don't know where that comes from, Kevin. I mean, JD has done 3. I'm sorry, this was the 3rd press conference that he did in the past month, 2 of which were alone. So I don't really know what that is, but I will say he's got a hit. I mean, this is where we sold all of our assets for. It's this draft. Like, let's not forget this either. We're down on JD, those of us who are. He sold off all of our assets to gain different assets, and we're mad at him before he even used them. Can we let him spend the money before we get mad at what he bought? You know what I mean? Like, he hasn't even used it yet. We saw the money that he cleared up. Again, we'll say this, as we said, probably at least once over the past month each week. This is the first year that he doesn't have the dead cap shit from Mike McCagnon. This is it. This is the first year. So he finally has the money. He finally has the draft assets that he pushed around and made moves to create, getting rid of Herndon and Leo and Jamal and Sam and all the guys, Avery Williamson. All these guys that he got rid of. This is the year. We saw what he did with the money. He went out and got a Pro Bowl tackle, 2 tight ends, Jordan Whitehead and Reed. Right? That's what he did with the money. I mean, we don't know how it's going to go on the field, but it looks good to me. And now we're going to see what he does with these assets. So again, it's hard for me to be down on a guy that was tasked with cleaning this shit show. And we're mad that the house isn't built when he just cleared off the wreckage. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I get your expectation, Kev. I really do. And I'm with you, but I disagree with the whole first half of that comment, buddy. Let's see who's next here. Edward Ziff checking in. What's up, Edward? Thank you. He says, I believe in Zach Wilson. I'm sorry. I believe if Zach Wilson has a great year, then the free agents will flock to the Jets. Players love the organization and the coaches. It's all Zach. Do you agree, Frankie? You think that if Zach Wilson hits your magic number, 65% completion percentage, you think that next year there's going to be a line out the door?
Yes, and let me explain for those who don't know the context. 65% is the number I've identified, and it has to be around 65% completion percentage, because with the skill sets that Zach Wilson has that are not going away, like the deep ball accuracy, the velocity, the escapability, the leg, the running ability, with all of that for Zach Wilson, if he's around about 65%, he will be a good quarterback at least. And yes, if that's the case, I think with all the other things we now have in place, I do agree with Edward. That'll be the case, because then we'll know about Zach Wilson. Right now, Zach Wilson's a gigantic question mark. No one knows. Yeah. And we still were able to acquire all these people, CJ and Tyler and DJ Reed and Jordan Whitehead and Bodden and Ben Berrios and Coleman and everybody and Laken Tomlinson. All the guys we got, even with Zach Wilson being a question mark. So if it turns out that he's good, you got to believe that our free agent haul in following years will be even better.
There you go. So I'm high on Zach, dude. And look, you guys, if you guys remember last draft, I was one of the people that was labeled a Zach hater. Never hated him, but just like earlier in tonight's stream, people think I want Hamilton and Dean in the first round. All I was saying last year was I don't see Zach Wilson as a perfect candidate. I just don't. I had concerns, right? But I liked him. So we get him. I watched him through a whole year. I watched him handle the barrage of Jets fans sending him mean tweets and everything and all the shit that we do. And I liked how he handled everything. I saw progress, and he's my quarterback, and I feel good about him. I think this year we're going to see it. The Jets are doing the right things, protecting him, giving him safety outlets, and we'll see what they do in the draft for him as well. And I feel real good about him, Ed. I got to be honest. I'm excited about this young man. I've been saying for months we're not taking wide receiver in the first. Let me trade back in the first. Rob V, there he is. I don't know if we'll trade back in the first, but I know a lot of people are doing it. We actually explored that last week or this Monday in the 10 o'clock mock, and everybody got mad that we traded up. And what we did? We ended up taking a safety. So we traded back up before the draft started, and then we ended up taking a safety, and everybody was mad that we took a safety, Frankie.
Eventually, you got to take a safety. I know it's not exciting, but we need one.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
you
it's
want to live
funny.
with LaMarcus Joyner? I mean, we could live with LaMarcus Joyner, but I'd prefer to upgrade.
Yeah, me too. Well, you know what the funny thing is, too, about the 10 o'clock mock? Because I don't vote. It's all them. They vote.
Wisdom of the crowd.
It's funny. So Jason Reeves, thank you for the super chat. He says, if we don't take wide receiver or offensive tackle or cornerback, what position are we taking at 10 after going edge at 4? Ooh. So this is what we call the trap question, Frank. This is what we call. So I'm a strong proponent of taking Kyle Hamilton if he's there at 10. I'm a huge supporter of that. I'm also a huge supporter of grabbing the best linebacker in the draft if they have him rated higher than the receiver on the board. So I would take either one of those positions. I'm a little bit less keen on the double up at edge, but I wouldn't be unhappy with that if they just said, hey, we're committing, we're going to have the best pass rush in the NFL, and they did it. I wouldn't complain. Just like Frankie, I think it's a little bit, maybe a little much, but I would be happy with both of those positions, and I'd be happy with wide receiver as long as we're not like reaching for somebody. I'm nervous with taking Jamison Williams. I don't like drafting injured players top 10. I just don't like it. I get everybody's points about it. It's just how I feel. Frankie, you got any other positions where you want a tight end or a running back up there or something?
Well, we can. I mean, our positions of need are really, Jason, our safety. Think about it. Who's the free safety? LaMarcus Joyner. We need to upgrade that. We need to upgrade edge. So you're saying, but we're already getting our edge. We need another wide receiver. That doesn't really leave too much. I mean, we could go linebacker. I mean, you want to get Devin Lloyd at 10? I mean, you could explore Devin Lloyd and say we're getting the best damn linebacker. We're getting our Fred Warner, and it's Devin Lloyd.
Right.
And one of the draft books has a comp. They have the comp. Who's he like? Fred Warner, and that would be attractive to a guy like Coach Saleh, who basically made Fred Warner. So maybe you could say something like that. We're not taking a running back that high. You're not taking a center that high. You're not taking a guard that high. So you're kind of limited. You want to take a high impact position there. So that's why wide receiver makes a lot of sense. Those three positions there that Jason mentions, wide receiver, tackle, and cornerback, those are high impact positions. They're considered premium positions. Right. And that's why you want to take somebody from those positions in that spot. So if you take those out, it's sort of an interesting question. If you take these positions that are high impact positions out of there, then what do you do? It's like,
well, he's saying that because I've said I don't want a cornerback in the draft. I don't want an offensive tackle up top. I want an offensive tackle later. I want pipeline guys. I want fourth round guys. But the thing is, look, I'm not a supporter of them reaching for need in any capacity. If the wide receiver is the best player on their board, I'm uber happy with that. I want the same things you want for Zach Wilson. I am not convinced that the receiver that you get at 10 is going to be more impactful than the receiver that you can get at 35. That's my question. And if that is the case, grabbing the best linebacker, because I do not believe Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean are the same as Chad Muma and Asamoah. I happen to like Chanel a lot. But he has some concerns, but I do love him, and I'd be very happy if they brought him on. But I feel differently about those positions and the drop off at 35 than I do about the wide receiver position in particular. Now, if they feel differently and they go, hey, we're taking Jamison Williams because he's the best damn receiver in the draft, I applaud it. I'm happy. Again, my job out here, not job, but my take is to explore options, right? Best player available is a great tactic unless you're ignoring your need. Best player available at a position of need is optimal. That's what you want. You don't reach for one over the other in any capacity in my position, unless the best player available is light years, like just leaps and bounds better than the guys at the next, that are around there. Then you make a decision. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm all about the best wide receiver. I'm not saying don't take a wide receiver. I am, though, saying I would be disappointed with a tackle or a cornerback up there. As much as I like Sauce Gardner, I do. I think he's fantastic. I also like Derek Stingley's freshman season I watched. You know what I mean? It's like, looks great. Now, I like a few other cornerbacks, too. It's not that I don't like these players. Again, I'm trying to explore what would be the best way to manage this draft. And knowing your positions before you go in, before you even see the way the board falls, it's crazy to me. I mean, I know that's what we're going to do. We're fans, but it's crazy. I hope the Jets don't do that. You have to look at what's there and where the value is. And that's what I would say. So I'd be very happy if Kyle Hamilton slips to 10. Dude, I'm telling you, they're taking him. I'd be fucking blown away if they didn't take him at 10. That said, I don't think he's going to be there. So our buddy, the Buffalo Jets fan, checking in. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, a BPA mindset would net us Sauce and Linderbaum at 4 and 10. I don't think anyone wants that. Need matters. It's a balance. Well, let me say this. I think you're correct that need absolutely matters. That's kind of what I was talking about, that, drafting best player available at the same position that you already have a stud can be foolish. We've seen teams do that. Log jamming one position, and especially when it's not like wide receiver and you can have 4 of them on the field at the same time, like a tackle or a defensive end or even a running back or something like that. We've seen teams do that, and it mucks up the works, right? That said, I don't know if I agree, Frankie, that Sauce and Linderbaum are the 2 best players on the board at that point. I think they're among them. Do you think that would be the way it lands? And do you have any thoughts on this one?
Well, I don't see anybody currently rating Linderbaum that high. Sauce, yes, he's in the top 10. I haven't seen any professional evaluators having Linderbaum that high. They're talking about Linderbaum going the end of the first round, maybe the Bengals, maybe somebody like that who need a center. But a lot of people have Linderbaum slipping into the second round. So I don't think Linderbaum, as far as I know, I don't think Linderbaum has that kind of a high value.
Yeah. And some of that goes with positional value too. I mean, look, there were some stats that I brought out in the beginning of this draft season that I dug up about the bust rate for positions. You know what I mean? Like when you look at positions taken in the top 5, top 10, top 20, all that stuff, there are positions that tend to bust higher more than other positions, right? Now, center happened to be among the worst, or let's say it this way, the highest bust rates for centers taken in the top half of the first round. Now, so that can be, now we don't know does that impact this, but specific player? Maybe not, but it's something that you factor in. And I think positional value and impact to the team, kind of like what you were talking about with the last question, Frankie, there are positions that are considered higher impact, and center, as important as it is not really considered a part of that mix. So I think that has something to do with it too. Now, is Linderbaum far and away the best center in the draft? Probably. I don't think you're going to find too many arguments about that. But again, I don't know if Linderbaum would be the best player at 10. I think there are other guys in that conversation, even considering or disregarding, I should say, his positional value in playing center. So, but thank you, Buffalo Jets fans. It's a good question, man. It's a good thought process, But I agree. You can't just reach for one or the other. Going BPA as like religiously can get you into trouble too. You know what I mean? You end up having you draft 3 cornerbacks. It's like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? What good is it?
If the way I think about it is like if Malik Willis slipped to 35, would we take him? Like he's the next guy on our board, Malik Willis.
Right.
Oh, we got 3 quarterbacks, so are we taking him because BPA?
We have to.
Well, we got to. BPA.
We have to. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a very clear example. Thank you for that.
Right, yeah.
A good example. Squarehead Jets fan checking in. Related to Square Pants Jets fan. They are a family, Frankie. The Squares, as we call them. No reason to make the Deebo trade. We're not a team ready to pay a guy $28 million per at wide receiver. Sign an extra veteran slot like Beasley and draft a London. Well, yeah, I think, look, I think if you have the opportunity to bring in a guy who just put up 1,400 yards receiving and 380, whatever it was, rushing with 14 touchdowns or so, and he's about to hit his prime, like 25 to 27, like you're getting him in his prime, I think you got to at least consider it. That said, I don't even think we need to get a vet. I think that we have receivers, man. Like we definitely want to bring in some youth here and some high potential youth. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're going to take Deebo, if you make the trade, you're not drafting a wide receiver, in my opinion, though. Do you agree, Frankie? If we went Deebo, you think we're drafting a wide receiver?
Not early. I mean, we might take a guy in the 5th round just for some extra depth or for situations. But once you get Deebo, then you're not using the 10th pick on a wide receiver, certainly, and you might not have the 10th pick because you might have to trade it. But certainly not early. Like 5th round, we might try to find somebody like a Bo Melton type. But no, yeah. Once you have Deebo, your main wide receiver slots are taken.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, look, it's an exciting group. You know, you got Elijah Moore, Deebo Samuel, Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, Braxton Berrios, along with the tight ends, and you draft Breece Hall, and holy shit.
It's a problem. It's a problem. How are you going to cover? I mean, it's a problem. And all we need those tight ends to do is catch the damn ball. Tyler Kroft couldn't catch the ball last year. He's dropping everything.
Ugh.
So it's not like I'm saying the tight ends are George Kittle and Travis Kelce. No, they're not. But all we need them to do is just catch the ball when you throw it to them, and it hits you in the hands. Just the times when it hits you in the hands. That's all. That's the only times.
Right.
Other times you can drop it, but when it hits you in the hands.
Yeah, that's right. It's like if it hits you in the hands, chest, or face, you're supposed to catch it. Is that fair? Is that a fair point? I will say Mike Kaz checked in and said, Bean, if Mims, Becton, Hall, and Mann start, it's a great draft. And I would agree. And look, obviously Becton's a question mark right now, as is Mims. But Hall's a damn good football player. Mann, he got his leg ripped off last year and worked his way back into the team. He's a fantastic punter, man. He's probably the best punter we've had here, at least potential wise, as in a very long time. So I don't know. It's like, that's important too. But anyway, Buffalo Jets fan checking back in. Thank you, Buffalo. It's good to see you up here so much tonight. It's nice to have you here, buddy. He says Mims was injured, having food poisoning and COVID back to back, losing 20 pounds. That's an injury. He had 45 receiving yards a game as a rookie. I can't believe he forgot how to play football. Bounce back year. Right? I mean, 45 receiving yards a game, that's pretty damn good, especially for a rookie. And he missed the first. Don't forget, man, that 2020 class, they didn't have a training camp. They didn't have a preseason. They had Adam Gase. They had the whole upturn, going into this season, brand new coaching staff who happens to be rookies. I mean, there's a lot here. The good news is, Buffalo, is that Denzel Mims, per reports from this trainer, the minute the season was over, he was on his phone, heading down, calling to make an appointment to head down. And he's been working out the whole time with this trainer to gain the weight back, but gain it back intelligently, not just put pounds back, but lean muscle. And he said, look, I mean, Frankie saw it, said it too. He's saying, watch out for this guy. This is where my money is on Denzel Mims. So it's his trainer. We know, take it with a grain of salt, but we all saw the pictures. He looks ripped. And I feel pretty good. I know you do, Frankie, but you think he forgot to play football? You think people are calling him stupid and he didn't know the playbook. You think that's a real piece to this, or you think he was just preoccupied with other things?
No, to be honest, after watching the All-22, the thing I get is a lot of times Mims is not the primary receiver on these routes. And a lot of times Zach Wilson didn't have enough time to find him, to be honest. He couldn't get to his third read, in other words, because the offensive line was breaking down and Zach had to run for his life. So a lot of time, I mean, he made some mistakes and he made some, he screwed up sometimes, but mostly it was just, he was running his routes and he was open a lot and we couldn't get him the ball. It's not his fault if Zach doesn't throw him the ball.
It's not. Now, there could be something that, like, look, if Zach doesn't trust them, okay, that's a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
but
I
I
don't,
mean-
you know.
I mean, some of it could be that, and they didn't have time to build up the camaraderie, which I think got fixed this offseason. You know, they
Right.
worked out together and they built up that camaraderie. But most of the time, it was literally Zach's looking to the left. And he looks at his first two reads, and Mims is on the right running his route, and Zach has to escape the pocket because we can't pass protect. Like a lot of times, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like he's getting chased for his life. I mean, I don't know why the hell he force fed Corey Davis so much with all his drops and shit, but you know, I don't know why he would trust him and not Mims. It's interesting because Mims's first drop of the year came in the Indianapolis game. So, and it all went downhill from there with our third string quarterback, Johnson. That was the first drop of the year. He didn't drop anything before that. So he had, you know, it's just a funny thing. Like, I think we're overreacting, and I'm happy to see Mims taking it by the horns. I think that's good. Kev checking back in. He says, I heard somewhere Sauce would be cornerback 3 in the 2020 class. That's behind J.C. Horn and Surtain and some others. I've heard that too. I've heard that he might not be cornerback 1. He might be cornerback 2. And I think there's a conversation for that. And that's the thing too. Like, I don't, as much as I like him, and I like how he kind of, strong arms receivers. Like, I like that type of play. I like the type of play that he puts on the field. At the same time, he might not be that great. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's interesting to ponder. And that's the thing. Just because they're the best in this class doesn't mean that they're a first round pick. It just could mean a weak class. Not saying that it is. I'm just saying that's possible. Jets New York 102. Zach has one of the best arms in the league. What do you think, Frankie? You rating him among the tops?
Well, if you're talking about velocity, he sure does. He has a rocket arm, and you can't say otherwise. That's just the truth. And now, you know, so it depends what your definition of best is. So now, if he combines that with accuracy, we got something. We got it. Because he's got the fastball. There's no doubt about it. He's got the deep ball. No doubt about it. He's got the athleticism. All he's got to do now is do the thing he's done his whole life, which is be accurate. That's all he's got to do.
Right. Just got to, and look, I know this is the one that people say is an excuse. I don't know how, though. I don't know how you can't hear this one and go, holy shit. He had the most drops of his catchable balls in the NFL. And if they were caught, what was his, you know this number. What was the number again? His completion percentage?
12.9%, which was the highest by far. The next guy was like 9. So he had the most drops percentage-wise of anybody in the whole league. And then you watch the tape, and it's like the Tyler Kroft, a fumbling, bumbling, mumbling, drumbling, you know, trying to catch a ball. And it's like, oh, geez.
That's right.
He had some bad throws too. Don't get me wrong. He made some bad throws too, but I mean, the numbers don't lie. He had the most dropped percentage of his catchable passes than anybody. That's the truth.
And if they were caught, it was something like 69% completion, some shit like that.
Yeah, his
so,
expected completion percentage.
Yeah.
His expected completion. But he had the biggest difference between the expected completion percentage and actual completion percentage in the whole league, which accords with the drop thing, right? You would expect, based on how he threw the balls, that he would have had like 66%, and his actual was like 55.
Yeah.
And so all we got to do is catch the damn ball. That's all we got to do.
That's right. Because don't forget, at least 3 of those drops, Frankie, ended up being picks.
That's
2 from
true,
Corey
too.
Davis,
Yeah,
1 from Braxton Burr. So, I mean, look at what we're talking about. Now, shit's going to happen, of course. But again, when you're looking for reasons to believe in Zach, there's plenty. Our buddy Dom C from our very own GreenBeanJetsFan.com. I want to point out that a Bleacher Report put out something today talking about the biggest movers in up the draft boards lately. They put out 6 players that are everybody's suddenly becoming aware of, and they're moving up boards. Dom C wrote about 4 of them 3 months ago, telling everybody to keep an eye on them. So guys, if you haven't checked out Dom C's stuff, he is a talent that is about to blow up this season. I assure you. He knows his stuff. He's great to talk to. And again, you can look at him as somewhat of a foretelling sage. He was telling us about these guys, and now everybody in the NFL is like, oh, you know who I discovered? Dom C was on that shit months ago. So you want to check him out. He's greenbeanjetsfan.com, as well as Sunday nights with Jeremy at NFL Chaos with Jeremy. I think at least for one more week. I don't know what they'll do after that, but he checks in with a super chat. He says, only player GreenBean ever insisted upon was Pat Fryermuth. Oh, Pat Fryermuth. Boy, do I miss yelling his name every friggin' week.
They call him here in Pittsburgh. They call him Muth. Every time he catches the ball, Muth.
I'll tell you, like, even though I knew that we wouldn't go running back and tight end that early with where we are in our build, boy, oh boy, did they get two players that I loved in last year's draft, the Steelers, with Najee Harris and Pat Fryermuth. I was like, Jesus, man. Like, that's exactly what I would love to see at those positions on our team. But, man, yeah, Pat Fryermuth, he showed everybody what I was talking about now, didn't he, out there, Dom C? So, yeah, I love him. Now, I don't feel the same way about Trey McBride, but I would love to get Trey McBride in here. I don't think it's real. But anyway. Mark Riz checking in with the super chat. Thank you, Mark. Mark is a beanbagger, and he was with us last night making our mega draft. It was so good. We all gave it A's and A pluses. What do you think of that, Frankie? You never see that, but we did last night. He says, for being the best Jets analyst, just a thank you to Bean, Frankie, Wat2K, and all the soup Jeremy may consume. I know, poor Jeremy. Everybody's peddling soup on him. He wants, Jeremy wants to eat a big old-fashioned sub-a-roon. That's what he wants. He wants a sub sandwich, something like Snow White's roast beef down there in Wildwood, or something. That's what Jeremy wants, a Midway steak. But he'll take soup, Mark. But thank you, Mark. We appreciate that. You're an awesome dude, and I'm glad to have you around, man. Sincerely, we appreciate it. And he threw some love in there to you too, Frankie. So what do you think of that? Isn't that nice?
Appreciate that, Mark. Thank you very much.
Edward Ziff checking back in. Do you think Jameson Williams is worth the risk? Well, I've kind of made my feelings clear. I could say it again, but Frankie, I'll throw that to you. What do you think? You think, especially at pick 10, a top 10 pick on a wide receiver who had an injury late in the season, what do you think? Is he worth it?
Well, it's hard to say without knowing the medicals, but the way I see it is if we're not comfortable with the medicals, then he gets crossed off the list. Like, we're not picking a guy that we're not comfortable with the medicals at all, period. He's out of here. So if we were to pick him, that our medical people, they're comfortable with it. Now, with Jameson Williams, he's attractive to me because he does things we don't have right now. He's a good complement to Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and Braxton Berrios. So you stick Jameson in there. He's a take the top off the defense guy all day long. He's faster than everybody. Doesn't matter who your cornerback is. You put him on Jameson faster. He going to beat him. So that's just the way it is. And if we give Zach time, he could actually find somebody like Jameson Williams 50 yards downfield, and we could see some bombs finally that we thought we were getting last year. We only saw a few times. So Jameson, we, without being medical people, Edward, it's hard to know. But if I can tell you this, if we take him, that our medical people, and we have to trust them, right? We have to have trust in our medical people to say, we don't think he is any more of a risk once he comes back than anybody else, per se. That's how they would look at it. And if he is more of a risk than anybody else, Joe Douglas is going to cross him off the list and we won't get him.
Yeah, well said. Gammon Brown checking in from the West Coast, it seems, Frankie. He says he's got an offer for you. He says, I'll trade you Deebo for your first, second, and fourth. Frankie, what are you doing?
It's not outrageous. I'll tell you that, Gammon, because I've seen some San Francisco fans put out some crazy proposals. But how about we substitute, instead of a second, how would you like a Greg Van Roten? How would you like an Ashton Davis? How would you like a Ty Johnson? How would you like an Isaiah Dunn? You need safety out there in San Francisco. I know you need a guard. You're not happy with Aaron Banks. I know you need safety help. Maybe you'd like, I'll get to tell you this. Maybe you'd like a Jason Pinnock. Jason Pinnock, you may look at him and say, there's Jimmy Ward 2.0. Perhaps you'd like that.
I think you might. Gammon, I want to make sure that you understand what Frankie's presenting to you is this is top shelf stuff. Okay. It's important to understand that. Now, when you're talking about a first, second, and fourth, maybe that's not outrageous if you're not talking about top 10 first, top 3 second, and a top 5 fourth. I don't know. I would say no, especially because you're going to have to pay him 25 plus million. He's probably holding out for that 30 banger. I don't know. I haven't accepted yet that it's worth it. I think just like with the that little era we had with Le'Veon Bell and Gurley and those guys getting big running back contracts again, it seemed like the running back position was making a comeback. And what happened? They both fucking fell off a cliff, and the whole NFL said, "See, never again." I almost feel like that's going to happen with the wide receiver. I thought 20 million last year was outrageous. I just did. Now we went right from 20 to 30. It's crazy to me. So I don't know. I think that this is going to simmer down, but that's why these guys all want these contracts right now. That's why they want them. Like, look, the one guy who got bit in the ass by that little running back run was Ingram. He turned down 10 million a year from the Chargers, turned it down, and then ended up taking 6 million, I think it was, or maybe 7 with the Broncos so he can play against. But it blew up in his face. He turned it down. They said, dude, well, 3 years, 10 million guaranteed. He said, nope, not enough. I want the 14 that Gurley got or whatever it was. And they said no. He held out, ended up leaving that year, came back as a Bronco and took 6 million. Or, somebody can correct me on the specific number, but he lost. And that's the thing. Just like Marcus May lost with that bullshit with his agent and everything. He could have taken the 20% less that Joe Douglas gave him and made, 10 million more than he got down there with the Saints. So it doesn't always work, guys. It doesn't always work. But Gammon,
it'd be funny too is if there's a market correction. What if there's a market correction? Let's say the Jets don't make any of the trades and they draft, I don't know, Garrett Wilson and I don't know, Alec Pierce or some combination. And they go forward with all these young guys, and we're the team that takes off. We're the new Bengals. The Bengals basically were trying to do what they did. They got a young quarterback. It worked out. They got pieces around him. They got the young wide receiver in the draft, and they went to the Super Bowl, all the way to the Super Bowl. Remember, the Bengals used to be a laughingstock. They went all the way to the Super Bowl and almost won. So we're trying to do that. What if we come close to doing that and everyone says, oh, you know what? We don't need to pay these wide receivers. Just draft them. And then there's a market correction. What if that happens?
That's right. And again, that's why these guys are all putting up their problems now because they want it. Of course. Dude,
and they want guaranteed, and they want guarantees.
That's right. They want guarantees. We saw some crazy shit this year. You saw Deshaun Watson get $230 million guaranteed. You saw 2 receivers get $30 million. There's a lot going on, man. Now, granted, the salary cap's supposed to go up 30 million. Maybe people are looking at it like that. Like, who cares? It's just free money anyway. I don't know, but I think we're going to see some sort of correction because, especially look what Jamar Chase did. Look what Justin Jefferson did. If you said like Jameson Williams comes in, it's going to be like, no way. I'll just draft one. No problem. The Jet Show checking back in. Mr. Show, everybody. If you haven't checked out his channel, it's worth it. Good dude. Go on over there and check him out. He says, just keep Jameson away from Mac and the Pats.
This is a great point. Here's what I think about Bill Belichick's philosophy on drafting. Would you like to hear, GreenBean?
Yeah, I would. I'd very much like to hear that.
Here's how Bill Belichick does it. He goes, do we have, okay, what are our needs? Okay. Is there a player coming into the draft from Alabama that meets that need? Yes, draft him. That's the draft philosophy. It's a very small flow chart. Is there a player from Alabama who fits a need? Yes, draft him. Get him.
Yeah, right. That's probably not far off.
Yeah, when you think about it, Nick Saban and Bill O'Brien are the coach bros of Bill Belichick, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there's like a pre-established, very well-traveled inside track between them. You know what I mean?
So that means that what Jet Show is saying here makes sense because where's Jameson from? Alabama.
Yeah. So he's even more scary there than he is somewhere else.
Right,
Especially
right.
because we got to see him twice a week. Why? You don't think Michael Carter or Bryce Hall or DJ Reed can cover him, huh, Frankie? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's hard for anybody to cover him. This
Yeah.
guy is so fast. I mean, unless you're going to get, I don't know. He's hard to cover. You know, your best way to cover Jameson Williams is to sack the quarterback.
That's it. You know, Joe Douglas nailed it, man. I love hearing that kind of stuff because that's how I view football. Like, I know it's gotten into like this very analytical kind of, very high level thinking mindset. But at the end of the day, if your guy can destroy the guy in front of him and kill that guy with the ball, it's over. Everything else is moot. And that's how I think about it. Now, granted, I come up from a different era. You know, I've played games with broken hands and all that kind of shit, blood all over my face. I've been knocked out cold on the football field and came back 6 plays later. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I think. And I love that Joe Douglas said that. You know how to take $30 million receiver out of the game? You kill the quarterback. Hit him.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And I believe it.
Yeah, and John Mechie's another one people are talking about. So
Yeah,
I would
I
would almost guarantee that John Mechie at least becomes a Patriot because in the second, if he's still there, they're going to grab him. They need a wide receiver. They might not be able to get Jameson, but Mechie they could probably get. And so he's wide. Do we need him? Yes. Do we need that position? Yes. Does he play at Alabama? Yes. Take him.
Yeah, there you go. The only thing with Mechie is that injury, but man, he's another one. He's like,
and he'll probably be fine.
He's going to be fine. And that's the thing. He's probably going to slide. I mean, he might even slide to the third. I don't know. I think maybe second, but he might slide to the third. And somebody's going to get a fantastic receiver. Now, it's risky for that to be your wide receiver play. That's risky, especially in our position. But hey, man, it's going to happen. Like I said, Jahan Dotson is the one I like to use as an example. Like, he's going to be gotten later. And he's going to have a fantastic career, barring some injury or something like that. Let's see what else we got here. We got Edward Ziff checking back, and he says, "Hey, Bean, Class A camper or trailer or dually?" I'm actually a trailer, but I did that for very specific reasons, which I won't get you in on. But I'll show you right now. You want to see? Here's where I live, guys. I got to keep my cords in here. Hold on. So you see, this is my camper. Not too shabby, right, Frankie?
I mean, it looks like an apartment, GreenBean. I don't know.
Yeah. See, I'll get you past the light. All right. It's hard, Frankie. Yeah, not too shabby. That's my room over there. My kids' room is over here. 2 bathrooms. Fucking awesome in here. I love this place. Now, granted, I think I'll be moving back into a house soon, Ed. I went looking at some houses just yesterday. And by some houses, I mean one. That's usually how we say one, some houses, right? But yeah, we got a whole bunch on the docket. So I'll probably be settling in again. I'm sad that the tour is over. My coaster tour is kind of over, but I have a whole bunch of theme parks planned. Like, we're going to get down to Carowinds in North Carolina. I'm obviously going to get to Busch Gardens a whole bunch this year, and Great Adventure, maybe back to Knoebels up there in Pennsylvania, Hershey Park. But yeah, anyway, it's a travel trailer, but it's a 40-foot travel trailer. It's as big as travel trailers get, but I got it for very specific reasons. I wanted a 5th wheel, but there were reasons. So anywho, that's the answer to that question. Let me see. Let's bring Jeremy on. It's already 10:20, Frankie. What the hell's going on? Let's say hello to Jeremy from NFL Chaos and get his opinion on some things. He's been doing such a good job keeping everything clean and tidy in the chat. He's been making sure I don't miss your super chats. Jeremy's a very instrumental part of this show, even though you don't see him all the time. But you ready to come on, Jeremy? You guys know him and love him. He's Jeremy from NFL Chaos with Jeremy. I don't know if you knew this, but he's the Jeremy that NFL Chaos is with. What do you think of that? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, it's amazing. Just when we caught up with the super chats, guess who comes in and makes us fall behind again?
Who's that? Iowa?
My good friend, Iowan Jets fan. Oh.
Well, actually, it was Mr. Show. We were done. I was going to play the clip, and not that we don't appreciate it. We do, but we thought we kind of caught up, and then we were going to be able to do some things. But nope. It's like the second we said, "Hey, look, I'm caught up," and he was like, "Nope, Mr. Show is here." But we do appreciate it, man. Sincerely. I mean, you don't know how much this stuff helps. It shows, honestly, it touches my heart. Like it really does. I appreciate it more than the value. I appreciate the token. So you guys are the absolute best. So Iowa is another beanbagger. He was another valuable asset in last night's draft, our private draft for the beanbaggers. He says, serious question. Should I buy a new jersey for going to the Vikings game or go with my Favre jersey? I see. I get it. I understand what he's saying here. Favre to kind of rub it in a little bit, little poke action. But I think you would lose that battle, Iowa, because they got Favre after us, and he took them to the championship game. So I don't like that. I say New Jersey. What are you thinking, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm thinking New Jersey. Get a New Jersey. We got a lot of stud players. If you could wait till after the draft, you'll have even more choices. We know about this new website, Parts Unknown, where you don't even have to get an authentic. You don't have to risk too much money. You can get a decent price jersey. So I think you should get a new one. There's a lot I could recommend. I mean, especially with green on black. The green on black is beautiful. Those jerseys are gorgeous. So
yeah, I like the black jerseys. I mean, look, I don't like the little swoosh, the shoulder thing. I just don't like it. I'm a traditionalist, right? I don't like it, but I like the colors. I like Gotham green. I like black. I like the white jerseys. But Frankie, what do you think for our buddy Iowa? You recommend just going in there with your Favre jersey and getting into a fist fight, or do you want to recommend a specific jersey for him to get?
Well, you know what's weird about the Vikings? The Vikings fans say they have a weird rivalry with the Jets.
Yeah, they do.
But I don't really understand. Other than Favre, what is the rivalry? Why are we rivals?
I'll tell you why. All right, you ready? Number one, Kirk Cousins used us. Oh. They won in the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes. We offered Kirk Cousins $90 million guaranteed. They were the only other team in the thing, so they beat us there. The following year, Anthony Barr said he was going to come on over, and then said, "To hell with you, I'm going back to the Vikings."
Well, I'm
just saying, but there's stuff here. Then they got our offensive line coach, who we fired, Dennison. He went over there. I think it was Dennison, and he went over there and did a really good job. So they're it's not just a rivalry. They're kicking our ass a little bit. Then they used a pick that they got from us to draft Kenny Willekes in the 6th round, one of my absolute favorite gems of that draft. So there's that. They used our pick on my friggin' player for them, bastards. Then
Kenny Willekes.
Oh, yeah, dude. You watch Kenny Willekes, everybody. Listen, he was injured. The first game he came in, game 1, 2 sacks. I want everybody to fucking pump the brakes on my boy Willekes, all right? Everybody, pump them their brakes. So he was a late round gem. You know how we got our guys. Yours is Zach Tom, I think it is. So you know what I mean? He was one of those for me. But then you got the trades. We traded Chris Herndon to them. They traded us. They got our 2/3 in the AVT trade. So they were able to. So there's all kind. It's weird. It's like covert, but there's enough there to create some sort of rivalry in your brain. Like, we want to be better. We want to get the better of all these moves. They've been beating us for a little while, Frankie. So that's where it stands. That's what I got for you, buddy. What do you think? Rivalry?
I mean, to me, no. But if I were Iowan, I'd get a Willekes jersey. Get a Willekes jersey.
Ooh, no, but that's bite. Yeah, get it in Jets colors, Iowa. With 2 middle fingers on the back end. On the
half and half. Get a half and half jersey. Half Jets, half Vikings.
Yeah. I say you go there. You go get an AVT jersey. Something, you can get a Zach Wilson, but get something a little bit more like, CJ Mosley, or he's probably going to be gone in a year. Get an AVT. He's going to be here for 10 years and go up there and eat a huge hot dog with no pants on. That's what I recommend. That's my recommendation. It's warm in the building. Minnesota. It's cold outside. Minnesota is an interesting city. They have, between all the buildings, there are walkways, like these raised walkways. So you could traverse the entire city without going outside. Isn't that crazy? I actually did like half of it when I was up there. I was like, wow. I just walked. I was like, look at this. I couldn't believe it. I was just fucking walking through the city, but up in hallways. It's crazy. So there you go, Iowa. That's what we got for you. Mike Parlato. Hope you and the fam are doing well. Green Bean gas money. Well, thank you. Now, Mike, did you check out the app? I want to tell you, at least 20, 25 people, I get notices like when you guys check out the app, it's in the description. You can save money on gas. I'm getting all sorts of people saying, thank you, man. It's awesome. It's actually real. Like, it's real. I've been using it for 3 years. I'll show you real quick. But it's there, man. So I appreciate what you're saying and doing, but I want to show you the app that is down there. Again, I'm not sponsored by them or anything. This is how much I have in there to take out right now. $96 that I spent on gas that they're giving me back. Why not? You know what I use this on? I use it on Amazon. So I buy like all my audio equipment, everything I have, my lights, my mic, everything is bought with my gas money. So what do you think of that? Do I sound good, Jeremy? I sound good tonight?
Yeah.
See? It's all the app. But thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Darley Senecal Baptiste checking in, Jeremy. He says, hi, Green Bean, trading Deebo or DK for round 3 this year and round 2 next year and draft a wide receiver in round 2 this year. Ooh. See, okay, now that's interesting. Let's say it's DK Metcalf because we've kind of beat Deebo to death a little bit. Frankie, or let's start with Jeremy this time. Jeremy, would you trade a 3rd this year and a 2nd next year for DK and draft Jamison Williams? So essentially, maybe pushing Corey Davis off the team next year or something like that. Would you think this is a wise move? Would you do it?
It looks okay to me. I mean, it doesn't look like a bad move at all. I mean, that's a trade I'd consider. My concerns is just what's his contract demands. We don't know. So, you know, we have to understand that and have a guarantee that we're going to extend him and we're actually going to sign him beyond 1 year. And then the other thing is it I'm like, when he says he doesn't want to play running back anymore, does that make him not a JD guy? Like, isn't it like all about balling out and helping your team win? Like, why is he playing?
I don't know. Do they expect tackles to play both sides of the ball, or I mean, like, and that it is 2 positions, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to have 15, 20 runs a year. It's another entirely to have 60 carries on top of 80 catches. That's a different story. And he's just saying, hey, look, dude, if I'm doing 2 positions, you're going to fucking pay me for 2 positions. That was the whole Le'Veon Bell argument, right?
Okay. If it's just pay me for both, then fine. I thought it was he didn't want to do it, but
I don't even know if he's saying that. That was me. I'm sorry. That was just me saying that. But he's saying I don't want to play both positions. Like I'm the leading rusher and or among them. I'm in the rushing. I'm a legitimate, running back, and I'm the leading receiver on the team. Like it's too much. That's what burned Le'Veon Bell out. That was his whole gripe. He was the leading runner and the 2nd leading receiver. He said, why shouldn't I be paid for both of those jobs? And that's why he held out. It didn't work, but that's what he did.
Look, he's a substantial player, and to be able to hold on to 2 of our 2 1s in the first round and still have one of our 2nds this year. And if you want to get back some of it, you could still trade down 10 if it doesn't fall the way you want it to, or if you think you could still get your guy, and then have Deebo on the team. It's hard to argue with it. If you have an opportunity, I mean, he's an incredible player. I mean, it would solve. So, I mean, look what our offense would look like. Cause I mean, Elijah still could be a WR1 type of receiver. It's just, it would be an amazing thing for Zach to have those kind of weapons.
I agree, man. And a 2nd and a 3rd would do it for me, especially if you can split it between 2 years. Now, just real quick, Gitmo wants to say you need some good matzo ball soup and a pastrami on rye from Katz, Jeremy. That's the secret to getting out of this malaise you've been struggling with the last couple days, buddy.
I know. I had borscht yesterday. My wife surprised me. She ordered it from New York City from like the best Ukrainian restaurants.
What is borscht?
It's beet soup. It's made from beets.
Oh my God. No wonder I never had it, because that sounds fucking gross.
But there were pieces of pork in it. I grew up on it. It was like the #1 place that she got it from through Goldbelly and everything. So it was a nice surprise.
My wife loves beets. So Frankie, Gammon Brown checks back in from the West Coast. He says, Balk and the Jags will overpay for Deebo. So no more dealing with you guys. We're going to go down there and talk to the Jags. Thank you for your time. What do you think? You think he's right? You think that the Jags, even after adding what the hell is his name? The other wide receiver, and they got Chenault, and you think they'll pay a premium for Deebo too?
Well, the problem is that Deebo has to agree to go somewhere because he could get traded and then he could say, okay, I'm leaving after the next year, and you could franchise him and play that game. So in essence, Deebo kind of has some say in where he wants to play. I would think a more realistic location might be Green Bay. Imagine Deebo with Aaron Rodgers. Now you got something going on. But yeah, there's going to be multiple teams. I think the point really that Gammon's making is there'll be multiple teams that are pretty hot for Deebo. And so we're not the only game in town. There's other teams that could want him. The Cowboys could want him. There's multiple teams. The Eagles could use him, for example, and they have plenty of picks. So we're in a little bit of a competitive situation, although we can offer the best package all around, both to the 49ers and to Deebo. So we have a little bit of an advantage, but if Deebo doesn't want to come here, then we're not going to get him just for 1 year and then have an unhappy player on our hands. So Deebo has some say in it. He is from South Carolina, so some are saying he wants to go down south somewhere, down south, not necessarily to the Panthers, but somewhere closer to home. And so some are saying that, and so that has to be taken into consideration as well.
New York is kind of the South.
It is totally not.
All right. Well, thank you, Gammon. It's nice to have you around, man. And anytime. Keith Knowles checking in. He says, Green Bean, you're the man. Well, thank you, Keith. Thanks for the sanity this offseason. Well, I'm losing mine, though, Keith. So, hey, at least if the derivative is that you guys maintain some, but I'll lose mine for you guys. That's fine. Frankie, I just found your channel, and I love your film breakdowns. Green Bean, we need 2 edges in the draft. What do you think? Hopefully, Mafe. Interesting. I don't know if the word need. I mean, look, they could just make that decision and say, you know what? We don't give a shit. We are guaranteeing as best we can that we are going to have a dominant pass rush and do that. So I could see it. I could. I don't know if I would say need, like Frankie was alluding to earlier. It does start to logjam a little bit. If they're talking about Carl Lawson really being what we brought him in here to be, and then you have a top 5 edge rusher from the draft, and then you have Vinny Curry and Bryce Huff and JFM and the other guy Martin that we brought in.
Martin, yeah,
right. It starts to get difficult to get everybody on the field. Now, maybe they just say to hell with Bryce Huff or whatever and bring in a better, if they think he's better, maybe. But I don't know if I would see it. Frankie, what do you think? Do you think that they're going to bring in 2 edges?
I'd say no. And something to Gammon Brown to finish up on his point. The Eagles don't have 3 first-round picks anymore, Gammon. They made that trade with the Saints, don't forget. So we can offer you the best trade if we want. And plus, we have 4 and 10 if we really want to get serious. But we're not going to do that. But if we really wanted to. But don't forget, the Eagles made that trade with the Saints, so they don't have 3 anymore. They only have 2. But to get to Keith's point, I would think 2 is too much, especially if we take one at 4. We're going to get a premium guy, and that's going to be it. We have a lot of other holes to fill. So I think, I think what the signing of Curry means is, so Curry happened yesterday. Maybe folks hadn't heard the news. We signed Vinny Curry back, and nobody expected Vinny Curry to be back this year. That was a big surprise last night. So I was so happy to hear that. And I think that means that we really just need 1 more now, I think. I don't see, there's too many. And you can never have too many. And you could say, well, we'll push Huff to inactive and we'll push, this one to inactive staff. But I mean, we have too many other needs, in my opinion, to really go for 2. I think we need 1 for sure. And then we got to fill other needs. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, look, I like Mafe a whole bunch, but let's not forget, I mean, he's not exactly a perfect player. I mean, there's a lot, he's got stuff to work on. But he does have that like kind of raw animal that you want from your edge rusher. He's got that in spades. So they might like him enough to do it if he's the best player available. I mean, who knows, man? They could say, hey, fuck it. We got Thibodeau and Mafe. Add him to the mix. Salah, figure it out. Or Albrecht, figure it out. Anyway, John checking in. He says, Green Bean, have you ridden Boulder Dash coaster? Oh, not only did I ride it, John. Are you ready for this? Not only did I ride it, I actually stayed in that park in their campground for a couple days. But the second day when we went back to ride that coaster won best wooden coaster 6 times in the world. That coaster in Little Lake Compounds, Connecticut, it won 6 times. It might even be 8 times, 6 or 8. When I went to ride it the second time, it had been closed while I was right there on the platform. John, listen to this reason why. Because the person in the train before us shit all over the chair, all over the car. I guess the ride was too intense and they lost their bowels all inside the train. So I have a whole video on my Full-Time Coaster Tour channel of me waiting in line while they're cleaning all the crap off of the roller coaster that you're talking about. So there you go, John. Not only have I ridden it, I've had a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I wish I didn't have on that very coaster. So you can go to Full-Time Coaster Tour on YouTube and look up my Boulder Dash video. I think it's called What Happens When Someone Poops on a Coaster. And that will get you there, buddy. You can watch it and you can see my ride. I filmed my ride on that and everything. So you can check it out. One of the best coasters I've ever been on. I loved it, loved it, loved it. I think I got on it 4 times when I was there. So thank you for bringing up Boulder Dash. I missed it. I miss it up there. I wish I can go back. Jet Straiku checking in. I felt left out. What's up, guys? Frankie is quickly becoming my new favorite channel. Anyway, trade for Deebo, draft edge, and best player available in the first. Let's go, man. Well, yeah, Frankie's channel's one of my favorites too, man. And I mean that sincerely. Lots and lots of good content. If you guys haven't checked it out, you really should. He's working hard over there, man, and bringing you unique stuff. That's what's great about Frankie's channel. It's unique.
and let me give you an example.
Sure.
Here's a guy that we can get in the second round. So if you're talking about wide receivers, let me tell you a guy I love in the second round. His name, Sky Moore. Why does Frankie love him? Well, there's some data, as you might expect. I got some data for you. Against man coverage, what's his success rate? 75%. Against zone coverage, he beats it 88% of the time. Against press man, 75.7%. Okay, so against man, he's in the 86th percentile of wide receivers. That means if there's 100 people in line, he's at number 14 in terms of the best. Against zone, he's 97th percentile. In other words, he is elite against zone. And against press, he's in the 91st percentile of other wide receivers beating press man coverage. This kid is something else. And that's a guy you can get in the second round. Boy, more I look at this guy, the better he looks. And so we're talking about all these wide receivers. Who can you get in the second round? You could wind up with a Sky Moore who might turn out to be better than all of them.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about it, guys. Look, in 2 or 3 years, we're going to be talking about the second round receivers in this very draft. And I guarantee at least some of them are better than at least some of the wide receivers that you're going to see in the first. Some of these names that everybody's in love with are going to fall off cliffs. And some of these second round guys, and that's all we're saying. Look over the last 5 years of second round wide receivers. You'll see what I'm talking about. And that year, obviously, we didn't think that because that's what they didn't do. So you're going to see it.
And
you're going to see it.
This says Sky Moore might have the second best packages of release moves in the class behind only Chris Olave. I mean, is this guy perfect for us or not? I mean, this is a guy. I mean, so you could look at it like, let's get Jameson at 10. And then in the second round, let's get Sky Moore. And let's really, for resiliency and just in case. And, because this kid is dynamite.
He's super fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. There are guys, man. There are guys. I know we zero in on a few guys and we fall in love with them, and that's fine. But don't forget to look at the other guys. Like Frankie says, not about who you have. It's about who else you have. And that applies to the draft as well. It's not about who's there. It's about who else is there. That's how you base your real decisions. Who else is here? How do I maximize this? You don't panic and you don't reach. If you don't do those 2 things, you got a good shot.
Yeah,
Johnny
P.
P.
They compare him to Elijah Moore. His comp is Elijah Moore. Give me more and more.
Give me more and more. More and more and more. Yeah, and his last name is Moore. So look at all this more. Moores. I love it. Johnny P checking in says, if you listen to the JD Hogan press conference today, which we did, we even played some for you guys. I got another clip. They do not think there is an elite edge, and I seriously doubt we take any of them at 4. This is where I don't think they're telling us the truth. Johnny P. You don't think that they think there's an elite edge? What do you think, Frank? You think that that could be true? Jeremy, you know what? Well, yeah, Frankie, you go first. Jeremy, I want to hear what you have to think on this one too.
I didn't get that impression. I mean, they said there's 10 players they like.
Yeah.
Or they didn't say who. So I don't know what. I didn't get that. Maybe I missed it. It's possible.
Yeah, it's toward the end when they were talking about that. So I didn't get to play that clip here, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. But again, I don't think that like Frankie said, they talked about they have 4 or 10 players up there that they would be very, very happy grabbing. I guarantee edge rushers are in that group. As a matter of fact, I believe edge rushers are up top. Now, it would be real funny for me if they came out and drafted Charles Cross and Derek Stingley. You know what I mean? Like I would, okay, I know shit about these guys. I still haven't put my finger on what they're thinking. What do you think, Jeremy? Any reality here?
Oh, I mean, I think that there's no way to know. I don't take anything I take everything they say with a grain of salt. I mean, JD's not, if he really wanted an edge, isn't there a chance he's going to say there's no elite edge players out there because he doesn't want that's what he wants other GMs to think he thinks?
Right.
I mean, is he going to go out there and say, oh, there's 2 elite edge players we really, really want? I mean, that's going to, he's a poker player, right? I mean, can't you imagine AD at a poker table? Come on. The trades he made, I mean, his job is to play poker. I mean, it's to bluff, is to people don't believe it, but that's what these guys are doing all the time. They're constantly trying to mislead people and everything. There's no way he's going to sit there and say, I'm not interested in edge, and let everybody know that, all his competition.
Yeah, I love Thibodeau.
but you know what's interesting? That's an interesting point that Jeremy made. Because why in the first place did we even have a press conference today? Did anybody ask that question? Why are we having a press conference with Rex Hogan and Joe Douglas? They just show up randomly.
No, it's their all right, go on. Sorry, go on.
Maybe one of the reasons we're having it is to throw up smoke screens, is to do exactly what Jeremy said, is to allow people to think things by throwing up smoke screens. We didn't have to have a press conference today, but maybe that's part of the reason.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's the thing. Like Jeremy just said, and said it well, he's a poker player. Like, remember people were saying that JD's a liar. Remember, he's a liar. He said he was going to keep them all. He's a liar. It's like, he's not, dude, that his job is to fool people. That's his job. Liar is not exactly the word I would use for that. I mean, that's what the job is to be able to manipulate the scene and the scenarios to come out on top. And so far we've seen him do that in trades and some other things. But so we'll leave that. But dude, look, this whole press conference, that's a very interesting point that you guys are making. Like, maybe that's the whole purpose of it. Let's go up there and throw up some smoke screen. Maybe the receiver parity thing's complete bullshit. We're in love with Jamison Williams, and we are in love with 3 of these edge rushers. We absolutely must have them. Maybe that's really where they stand. They only like 2 players. It's fucking edge and wide receiver. That could be what they see. We don't know.
Because if it were me, I wouldn't have this press conference. The first thing I thought when they got up there was like, why are we having a press conference with our general manager and our assistant general manager? What are we doing? Why? But then what Jeremy said made a lot of sense. Maybe it's just all part of smokescreen season and poker player season. And you have the press conference to say those things because you know what our idiot beat writers are going to ask. So you know what they're going to ask. Then you have your answer and you play and it's all part of the plan. Right.
Right. That's pretty good. Like, I guarantee you're right, man. Like, they know our beat is they're not exactly a bunch of whips. You know what I mean? They're just slimy. Like they just start trouble.
And
they're troublemakers. Right.
The Jets know it.
The Jets know it, and they're going to use them. That's a fantastic point. They could probably predict with some accuracy exactly who's going to ask what, and they have the answers to be able to get them to write what they want them to write. So I'm telling you, We're nailing it here tonight.
See, Jeremy
I
had a great
applaud
point.
this.
Yeah, Jeremy had a great point.
I
That
applaud you
all,
two.
It's all part of this. It's all part of Joe Douglas playing 4D chess.
Do you guys hear this? Do you guys hear this tonight? This is brilliance, true brilliance pouring out of your laptops into your ear holes. This is what's happening. We figured it out. 2 hours and 47 minutes into this 2-hour live stream, and we found it. The nugget, the gold. We've been digging. We've been digging. That's why they say don't quit 3 feet from gold. If you already dug that far, keep going. You'll find it. And we just did. Thank you. Thank you, guys. You guys are the best. Jets Jedi is also saying smokescreen. And I think that's where I now reside. I had thoughts before this. They have been reformed into what they just said. Jeremy and Frankie are nailing it. I hope you guys appreciate what you're hearing tonight. We just got 10 more listeners somehow. As soon as that happened, they felt it. There's brilliance going on somewhere. AbLab Studios checking back in. He says, can you explain how Trayvon Walker goes to Detroit and not Kayvon Thibodeau? I hope they do make that mistake and take Walker, but is that really likely to happen? Jeremy, you like Trayvon Walker maybe a little bit more than I do. I like him, but I don't like him as a top 5 pick. What do you think? You think it's realistic that Detroit could take Trayvon Walker over Kayvon Thibodeau? And why the hell would they do that, do you think?
Well, it depends on what they believe and how their scheme works and how he fits in, and if they're drinking the Kool-Aid, right? I mean, it just depends. There's the reason he's getting all this hype is because of the combine and because of his raw score, right? And this is becoming a big thing. And it just depends on how do they feel? How does that GM feel? And do they believe? Are they? Because it might just be Kool-Aid. It might not. These are all opinions. The Kool-Aid could be, oh, he would have gotten more sacks. It's the system he was in. It's the way he was used in Alabama. If you look at his athletic ability, this guy could have put up as many sacks as anyone, but that's not what he was asked to do in Alabama. That could be Kool-Aid, or it might not be Kool-Aid. And it depends on if the GM buys into it, because there are plenty of GMs who draft that way. That we've seen so many guys. We've done it in our history that draft guys that didn't have the production, but they just believed in the ability. Like, why did we pick Marino over O'Brien in '83? And I know you love Ken O'Brien, so do I. But I'm saying, why did they make that pick? They believed in Ken O'Brien's ability. It wasn't production if you compare him to Dan Marino. Right?
Yeah.
So it depends on how you draft. So to me, there's a possibility Detroit takes him. For sure.
That's right. And there are GMs out there. We had one for 5 years. His name was Mike McCagnon, that believe the hype. They buy into the shit that's out there because they don't have the self-confidence in their own abilities. So they listen and they buy that stuff. So guys like the Jags, and look, man, we have 3 poor organizations up top. Hey, you never know. Throw enough shit, something's going to stick. And let's go out there and get these guys to think all this stuff. Now, that said, is Trayvon Walker a good pick? What do you think, Frankie? I mean, how do you see this one?
Well, this is the way. This is an interesting one, right? Because the scuttlebutt from Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks was that all of the defensive line coaches fell in love with Trayvon Walker. And think about it from a coaching perspective. He has the things I can't teach. I can't teach you to have an 85-inch wingspan. Can't teach you that. 85 inches. That's insane. I can't teach you to have a first step like he has. I can't teach you to have the hand strength that he has. And so they look at him and they say, there's a guy we can work with. We can finally do what we want to do with this kid. Right.
Right.
So that's the coaches, though. Now, the scouts are going to come in and say, well, but he was utilized this way at Georgia and this, that, and the other thing. And he's got this and he doesn't have this production, that production. And there's a tension there sometimes, right? So the coaches are saying, this is the guy we need. And the scouts are saying, no, you really don't, because da-da-da-da. And then the GM is going to have to sort it out with the head coach, and they collaborate and everybody talks and figures it out. So that's what's going on with Trayvon. That's why he's rising. Not just that he was a workout warrior at the combine, but it was like, look at these things he can do, the short area quickness, the hands, the wingspan. We can't teach you to have 85-inch wingspan. I can't teach you that. You either have it or you don't. And that's important for rushing a passer. That's an important thing to have when you're rushing the passer. So that's why that's happening. And then the fascinating thing is kind of who wins out. Do you go on the traits, or do you go on the production, or some combination thereof? Kayvon Thibodeau has incredible production. He has the best production ratio of any edge in the class, I think. And he has some pretty appealing traits. So you might go, well, that's pretty safe then. Let's stick with that. Or you might go, well, I don't want this production guy. I want the 85-inch wingspan. I don't care how many sacks he had at Georgia. Give me that guy right now. So that's kind of the why of it's happening. But the fascinating thing is what's going to win out, Right.
And sometimes one will, and sometimes the other thing wins. So it's like there really is a science to this. Like they've made this a science, but it's still almost impossible to predict to 100%. It's just, you can't, because inside of all that, you have this little thing called the human brain, and little voices in there that say different things, and they ruin it all. And you just never know. But right, I mean, there's many reasons why Trayvon Walker would be considered in that conversation. Like Frankie just said, it's fantastic explanation, by the way. And I think, like, for me, I just don't love when I watch him and his first move gets stopped, which happens often. I don't think he has very much come around. He just doesn't. He's kind of stopped dead. And then there's the whole thing. Well, he was asked to just, take the edge. Okay, all right. It didn't look like that to me. It didn't look like that was his responsibility. It looked like that became his responsibility because he got his ass, he hit a brick wall. You know what I mean? So now, and I'm not saying that's not the case, but anyway, he there's a lot not to like about him. But again, if you love the measurables and what, like he said, the stuff that he brings to the table, and you say, don't worry, I got him. That's a guy I can work with. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Then you got to have good coaches too. You know what I mean? If your coach knows what he's doing.
And that's the other thing too, is like you put DJ Reed with Coach Oden. I'm predicting DJ Reed's going to the Pro Bowl next year because he's already a really good player, and we're putting him in the room with Coach Oden. And so that's a factor in signing DJ Reed, because can we make DJ Reed even better than what he is? Well, we have Coach Oden here, so probably, yeah. So the coach who you have, and the confidence you have in your coaching staff to develop players plays a role in this too.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like, and that's the thing too. Like when we look at a player that went to the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Baltimore Ravens and we passed on him, that doesn't mean that them coming here would have been great. It's like they say Josh Allen. Oh, I can't believe we fucking passed on Josh Allen for Sam Darnold. Let me tell you something. Just Josh Allen came to the same situation. He wouldn't be Josh Allen. There's no way.
Probably not.
You know what I mean?
So probably would have been Josh Rosen.
Yeah, exactly. He would have been done. Now, he was so inaccurate and erratic, and he had so many things to work out. You got to give it, as much as I hate the Bills, you got to give it to them, man. They developed him perfectly, and they built the team, the offense around him perfectly with priorities. What did they prioritize? Offensive line and running game the first year, while still getting him 2 receivers. They got him Beasley and what the hell? The other guy, Brown, maybe. But then the next year they went out and got him an elite wide receiver, 3rd round pick, by the way, in Diggs. I think he was a 3rd or 4th, another one. So anyway, it's just they did a good job. I wanted to bring up a comment I thought was funny. Jordan Victor, thank you for saying this. It's just a funny thing. He says, GreenBean, it's impressive that you have 10 reasons you hate the Vikings off the top of your head. You should do that.
I didn't even know one. I was like, what? We made a trade with them for AVT. Big deal. Who cares? They got Kellen Mond and Wyatt Davis out of that deal.
They did.
Bust. So
yeah. But yeah, I do have that for most teams. My wife, look, you guys know I'm in AA, right? Like I'm sober and I don't drink, and I do a whole program, the 12 steps, right? And one of those steps is the 4th step. The 4th step is when you take an inventory and kind of try to clear out this stuff you're holding on to. My wife has told me on numerous occasions for the past 20 or 15, 16 years, you need to do a 4 step on NFL. You need to do it. Like, you have so much pent up fucking resentment over NFL. John Abraham, that motherfucker. Like, that's how I am with everything. You know, it's how I am a fan. Like, I have hatred for every single NFL team. You want it? I can give you a reason for every friggin' team. But I have love for the worst team in the fucking league, which is the Jets. I got nothing but love for us, man. Like, it's like, it's a weird dynamic, but that's how I root. I root against. I don't root for, except the Jets. Everything else is against. If I root for a team, it's because I'm rooting against the other team for some reason that benefits the Jets. That's it. Or because they scorned us, and I'm pissed about it 9 years later. I'm still mad at Tom Brady or whatever it might be. But yeah, I appreciate you noticing, man. That just flew right out of my head like that. I can do that for anybody. I got the Browns, Bills. What do you want? Jet Strike, who checking back in. He said, we passed on Reno because of smoking pot. Jeremy, that's right. I completely forgot what that was. Now, I know Warren Sapp was the pot too. So the Jets, we don't like pot. We don't like weed. I don't care how great you are. You smoke grass, roll doobs. We're not doing it. How'd they say it in the 70s, man? Grass and doobs, right, Jeremy? You were around.
Let me ask the chat, like, because I'm in Sacramento and I'm not far from UC Davis. You don't think they smoked pot over there in the late 70s, early 80s?
He didn't get caught.
He didn't get caught.
That's the big difference. That's why we took Kyle Brady over Warren Sapp.
But if you don't like that, if you don't like that example of teams might pick a guy over something other than just production, how about Christian Watson, right? And look where he played. Look where he played and look at his production. Why is there a chance he'll go in the first round, right? Because he's 6'5" and he runs a 4.3. So
right
there's your example of a team picking somebody who doesn't have the production.
Yeah. There you go. So Jets Mess checks in and reminds us it was reefer. That's the word. That's the good one. That's the word I was looking for. Ganja. Hey, older than dirt says he was a friend of Bill's. That's what we call ourselves. That's our secret code. I don't know if you guys know that, but if you ever like go to an event or like on a cruise line, you look at all the events and all the stuff planned, you'll see friends of Bill. That's us. That's where we're meeting. So I'm a friend of Bill too, older than dirt, aka Walt. 12 years. Congrats, man. Oh, the 17th. So that's just a couple days ago. Hey, heartfelt congrats, buddy. I'll have 12 years with no drink or crack or heroin in what is it? July 13th. I always confuse I think it's the 13th. My daughter's birthday is the 15th. I always confused it too. For some reason. But yeah, so you left the gate a little bit ahead of me. I had 4.5 years before that, and then I started taking some pills again, and my wife caught me. But so that's how that went. And I went up to Connecticut. AP says he has a drinking problem, 2 hands, only 1 mouth. Yeah, that was my problem for a while, buddy. It turned into the other one. You know, no hands. What do you? Yeah, I had no more money. That was what it is. I spent everything I had on that friggin' problem. Reefer Madness, the Devil's Lettuce. Oh yeah, you guys are awesome. Rob V, friend of Bill, 15 years. Awesome, man. That's awesome. Congrats. Let's see. Who's at 3 years sober? Let's go. Who's got 3 years? I don't see it. Where is it? Somebody's got 3 years. Congrats. Oh, yeah, here you go. Rob V. Congrats, buddy. That's awesome. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, we're going to wrap this one up, I think. Well, thank you, Thank you, Walt. I appreciate that. Everybody must get stoned. There you go. You guys are the best. So let me see what Jeremy's saying. We got Jet Strike. Did I get it?
Yeah.
All right. So it is 11 p.m. Let me do one more thing. I want to show you guys. You know what? I'll wait till the Monday Night Mock. I can't. It's going to start an hour-long conversation. I'm going to do one last thing. Take a look at our draft. And it's going to be like, boom. I can't do it. So I'll show you guys on Monday night what we did in the private Beanbaggers draft yesterday. But we're going to wrap this one up. No more super chats because then I'll have to do it. I do appreciate everybody who's contributed. I appreciate all you guys in the chat. This was a good one, man. I felt really good about this show. It was fun, light. There was some tension in the chat earlier, but Jeremy took care of that. I appreciate it. And you guys are the shit. Frankie, why don't you tell everybody what you got coming up, buddy?
Well, we got some videos coming up. Tomorrow we take a look at the cornerback room. Are our cornerbacks really as bad as we think? where do we compare to other teams in combination with DJ Reed and Bryce Hall? Perhaps we have the best combination in the AFC East. I'm not saying we do, but maybe we do. Maybe we do, actually. But then also on Saturday, how you can use our beat reporters, the clowns from Clown Town, to your advantage. How do you do that? That comes out on Saturday. Then we got what do we got? The final mock draft of the season on Sunday. Had to do it. Sorry, everybody. And I know everybody's sick of mocking, but had to do one last one. And we'll do Friday night at Frankie's tomorrow night at 6 p.m. and Coffee with Frankie the following Saturday at 11. Coffee with Frankie live and in living color.
There you go. And I highly recommend, again, guys, the link, the simplest and easiest and fastest way to get over there for both of these gentlemen's channels is right in the description of this video. Just click it. It says follow Frankie, click, follow Jeremy, click, and you're there. Go ahead and give them a sub, as well as this channel. If you haven't liked the video yet, please do. But again, both of these channels are worthy of following, and that's why I have them on here. But Jeremy, why don't you let everybody know what you got cooking, buddy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say real quick, Frankie asked before, who's going to cover him about Jameson Williams? Well, the only person I ever saw him cover him in college was the guy Frankie knew about before anybody I ever heard talk about him. When Sauce Gardner was projected to be a late first, possible second-round pick, third or fourth cornerback, Frankie was already talking up Sauce Gardner. You can go back in his videos and check. So he was the man who knew that. That's another reason why you should sub to him, because you'll know things before anybody else. It's one of the reasons I sub and watch him, because I want to know for my channel things before everybody else.
That's right.
But, I got the Friday night, Sunday night, and Wednesday night live shows. That's my big thing. And I do have one video. Maybe I'll try to up it if I can. That comes out every week. State of Jetsnation. I'm just trying to get that going. But yeah, we have a good time too. And as GreenBean said before, Dom C, you'll see him there. You'll see Watu with me. You'll see Nick Shine. So I have a lot of fun people also co-hosting.
Yeah, it's good shit, man. And again, if you want to read Dom C stuff, you can look at it now through with the lens of having hindsight. Look what he was talking about over a month ago, and you'll see it. That's how you know who to follow in the future. When they're saying stuff, you could know it's been validated. Everybody's talking about it now. It's all the guys that the NFL community is now stumbling upon. Dom was handing that out in the same way Frankie was to you guys way early. And that's what we're trying to offer you guys over here. I appreciate both of you. I appreciate everybody in the chat. I want to just make a point. This show was so long that it outlasted Kev Chada's cell phone battery, and that is our ultimate goal. We're trying to outlast your batteries. But thanks again, everybody. You're the best. 1 week. 1 week. This is the final Thursday thick of it before the draft. I will see you all for the Monday show. And have a great week, everybody. We will see you next time.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, baby.
I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah!
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.